Okay, good afternoon. Our emergency virtual commissioning meeting, July 16th. Roseanne, would you call the roll, please?
Okay. Mayor Hoppy,
Present.
Vice Mayor Kennedy,
I'm here.
Commissioner Ross,
Here.
Commissioner Samaria,
Here.
Commissioner Tudor.
Here.
Okay, Commissioner Samari, you want to lead us on the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Remain seated.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hoorah.
I am mute the person with the phone number ending on 205. Can you identify yourself, please? Hello?
David Hernandez.
Okay,
David Hernandez.
all right.
Who's the next one for public comments?
I have Mr. Raymond.
Hi, you hear me?
Yes.
You good? Yes.
Yes.
Good afternoon, everybody. Chief, I like the beard. Good luck. So I just wanted to say that now that we are in the situation we're in, I do hope that as you move forward, I know in speaking with some of the commissioners before when we were working on the petition, there was a concern about not starting the search or not ending the search in November. And I know that is a consideration and people are worried about the election, what the outcome might be. But given that 2 of the seats will carry through the November timeframe, that is, as my understanding, that would be Mayor O'Halpern and Commissioner Samaria would be on the commission. Out of the other 3 members, I would assume that at least one of them will still be on the commission. So I really don't think waiting until November is a solid argument at this point, at least in my mind, unless the other 3 of you who are in office now say, I'm at there. So anyway, just something to consider. The other thing I think to consider, and I know I did bring this up with people who were running this time, is that the pay scale that the village offers for a manager is just abysmal. If you look at what other places are paying, we really don't even compete with the salary of an assistant manager in small cities. So I do think if you want to attract somebody good, that you really should look at that. We have saved money through this process. You do have reserves, and I really think that it makes sense to do that. The other thing I think that you need to look at in a candidate is the ability to bring in additional funding, such as grants. And if you don't find somebody with those skills, I do think that as the commission goes through the budget process this year, they should look at perhaps adding a position like a grant writer or somebody who could bring in additional dollars. So I thank you. I know you've got a lot of hard decisions to make today, and I wish you luck with it.
Thank you. So Janie Anderson.
She's muted.
Trying to unmute. Sorry, I was trying to unmute. Thank you so much, Janie Anderson, 11th Place and 119th Street. Ginny, Dan, and Will, I sure hope this situation has been an eye-opener for you 3. We wouldn't find ourselves in this situation while still dealing with the CITT audit, FEMA, 6th Ave, sanitation, which the RFP, to the best of my knowledge, still isn't up, and the budget, if we had done what every commission prior to you guys has done. You don't just appoint the interim when a manager leaves, you immediately start the search. That's the way it's always worked, and it worked well. You don't put someone in an interim position, watch them drowning, and stubbornly stand your ground. Rox has put together 2 really well-crafted processes, one for the interim appointment, which I like seeing even includes their scope of responsibilities, and one for the permanent search and hiring. She's been through this. multiple times. She knows those processes work. So let's please put the egos, the us against them mentality, put it on the back burner and understand it's your job, one nobody forced you guys to take, to make the tough decisions, to get things back on track again, and to start moving us forward. Thanks.
You're muted, Roseanne.
Chuck Ross, you're muted.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Chuck Ross, 11166 Griffin Boulevard. I want to echo what David said. I also think that the suggestion that our current finance director, Paul Winklejohn, is a good temporary solution until we find a full-time manager, particularly because we're going into budget season. He would be the one preparing the budget in any case. We have the CITT audit issue, and there's also FEMA still lying there in the background that needs to be dealt with. It kind of all fits right into his hands while we do a search, which I certainly hope will be taken up immediately for a full-time credentialed manager. Thank you.
Roseanne, you're still muted.
Okay, I'm back. I have Howard Goldman. Howard Goldman.
Can you
You're
hear me?
unmuted, sir.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead.
Good afternoon, everybody. I follow suit with what David Raymond had said, and I thank David for all of his hard work that he's put into helping us out, being a new grandfather, and enjoying life as he has. As you all may or may not know, I've petitioned him hard to consider this role, whether or not you had wanted to allow him to be a part of that process or not, I don't know. But it is a very important time for us all right now. We've got some very major decisions that have to be made in a very short period of time. And I hope that this has been an awakening for all of you members of the commission and our mayor, that we need to move forward positively with great energy and let Biscayne Park become the wonderful place that we all chose to live here for. And it's up to you all right now to take that responsibility and move forward with it. That's all I have to say for now. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, sir. Let me see if I see anybody else raising their hand.
Dan wants to speak. Dan Schneider. He's muted right now.
Yes, I'm
Hi there, can you
Go
hear me?
ahead, Mrs. Schneider.
Can you hear me? Hi, this is Dan Schneider, 11705 Northeast 11th Place. I just want everyone who's listening to be clear that the former manager, Christian Manners, was terminated almost 5 months ago. That's 5 months. And the commission has yet to start the process to find a permanent replacement. That's unconscionable to me. Anyone who's paying attention could see that David was not handling the stress of 2 full-time positions well. And I think it was unfair of the commission to ask him to do this indefinitely. I mean, I think the writing was on the wall. David missed 2 of the last 3 commission meetings. And at the one meeting that he did attend, he was insubordinate and was going after commissioners. That's not okay. But I don't blame David. I blame the commission for the position that we're in now. And I have 2 requests that I'd like to make. First of all, I would just like to I would like to beg the commission, please take your responsibility seriously today and start the process of hiring a permanent village manager. And secondly, I would like to implore anyone who is considering taking the interim village manager position, anyone who that might be, I request that you not take the position unless the commission votes unanimously to start the search for a permanent village manager today. We can't be kicking the can down the road. We can't be hoping for the best. We are not paralyzed because of COVID. We are a functioning village, and we need to move forward. And that's all I'd say. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Is everybody spoke that wants to speak?
um,
Okay, I think Roseanne has a letter.
I have a comment to read. It's from David Hernandez. For the record, the reason I left as village manager was due to the hostile work environment that two commissioners created and subjected me to on a daily basis. This made it difficult, if not impossible, to accomplish the goals set forth by the commission and my commitment and responsibilities to serve the residents. Commissioner Ross constantly scrutinized all decisions that I made as manager. Her fake narrative to the village residents and her threats to expose my shortcomings became a very personal and damaging to my reputation. Her harassment took a toll on my health, and as a result, I decided to resign as village manager. The final straw was having her husband contact my former place of employment to look for dirt on me. This forced me to make only one decision, which was to step down. Commissioner Kennedy's barrage of emails during 5 months of tenure, over 11,000 of them, showed me that there was no appreciation for the effort I gave the village and using residents to advance his agenda. It's unfortunate that these two commissioners waste time and resources attacking me during this COVID-19 pandemic to try to move forward their political agendas. Please have this read as a public comment at the commission meeting and let the record reflect and include this in my personnel file. David Hernandez, former village manager.
Okay, I believe that David Hernandez would like to speak.
Yes,
You're on mute, sir.
yes, I would like to make a few comments. People were saying that they were blaming the actual commission for no action and looking for a manager. I don't blame the three commissioners, the mayor and Commissioner Tudor and Commissioner Dansamari. I do blame the other two commissioners. There was a lot of issues that happened. One issue that I still recall a few weeks ago, how Commissioner Rocks called John Herron in reference to my status if I was sick and if I had COVID-19. Like I said earlier, the derogatory comments and threatened me to force her hands to expose my shortcomings and destroy any opportunity to apply for permanent city manager. The fact that her husband went out there went to North Bay Village to look for dirt, to see my professionalism and my character. I also felt that all the derogatory comments that they made constantly affected my health. I also suggested the fact that the Commissioner Ross suggested that there was an elephant in the room. My professional work with Chief Cabrera for many years was only professional, even though we knew each other, but we always worked professional. There was never, ever an elephant in the room. Also, receiving emails, phone calls, Sunday, 7:30 in the morning, when 10, 15 emails at 7:30 in the morning on a Sunday morning made me realize that my girlfriend basically said if I was cheating on her, guess what? Who calls at 7:30 in the morning and wakes you up? The fact that I had Fred Jonas, have commissioners ask Fred Jonas to put negative blogs about me and about my job and my character and my nature was wrong. Implementing deadlines that are not realistic to create, so I can be created failures. Giving me directives to create a temporary certificate of occupancy to appease voters, how Commissioner Ross requested that so she could appease her voters. And she wanted me to go out of my way to create some type of TCO when the whole issue of the pandemic COVID-19 started. During my tenure as interim manager, all the operations and functions of the police, public works, and the administration have been kept moving forward. during this pandemic. And the theory that I was blocking to find a permanent city manager was only created as a false narrative by Commissioner Ross. She basically wants to handpick who she wants as a city manager. I am not a puppet. As a city manager, I will never be a puppet. I work for the commission, and I want to thank the residents, Barbecue, and a lot of the other residents, all my former employees who work diligently, more hours than you could even imagine. And I want to thank Commissioner Tudor. I want to thank the mayor, Virginia Hepburn, and Dan Samarian for having vision and not creating problems. That's why I stepped down. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Due to possible litigation, there will be no discussion on this matter. I believe Dan Samaria has a point of order. He's muted. Roseanne.
Okay, can you hear me? Point of order?
Yes.
Okay. If it's okay with the commission, I'd like to make a comment before we start, because I want to have the rest of the meeting run in good. I hope that we will all follow Robert's rules and everyone gets a chance to speak before anyone speaks for a second time. Before we start this today, I have a couple of things that I'd like to say regarding my time as a commissioner here and what I've seen happen. Over the past 2 commissions, I've seen a small group of people bully others to create a toxic work environment. This was done to try to make it so bad that people will leave. And now we lost 2 city managers over it. I don't believe this is helping the village, and it needs to stop. I even seen too many nasty comments made and personal fights for control take place on our commission. This is not what we were elected for, and it makes me sick to my stomach. I'm sorry, but I'm speaking from my heart here. For me, we failed as a commission who voted for us when we chose to undermine or harass employees instead of finding better ways to support them. It is our job to put our personal differences aside for the sake of the residents. I don't know why things have gotten so bad here, but at this rate, I think we'll have problems finding anyone who would want to work under this environment. The turnover we have had at city manager's position does not help us. We are causing some of these problems ourselves, and we all need to do a better job and focus on the people and not on our personal demands. Thank you.
Okay. We'd like to go into nominations of an interim village manager.
Mayor, if I may, as a personal point of privilege, since my name was raised several times in the letter read by the clerk and by Mr. Hernandez, I don't want to take up too much time. I'm not sure the litigation that you refer to or potential litigation that you refer to, but there were several things said. Not quite prepared to put on a full-blown defense of my service in the village. And if any of you, obviously Commissioner Samaria seems to have come to some conclusions about me because of those things that were said over time by Mr. Hernandez. None of you have yet given me an opportunity to explain myself or respond to the things that you might have heard from Mr. Hernandez. I can just tell you in general that we did not have, Mr. Hernandez and I did not have contact for weeks at a time. So when he refers to my daily harassment, it's a figment. I don't know where that comes from. You could look at my personal phone, you could look at my cell phone, you could look at my email accounts, and you will see that I did not have contact with him for days at length and sometimes even weeks at a time. So whatever harassment he felt, I'm not sure where he thinks it was coming from, but I will tell you, yes, I did exercise oversight as any commissioner would. It's my responsibility, it's my obligation. And when a resident comes to me for a service that he's not able to get through the administration, then I'm going to try to find a solution for them. And not just for one resident, but for all of the residents. I would hope that any of you would do the same thing, because that's part of your obligation. when you signed on and took the oath, it was to represent people who live in this community. As to the specifics, I don't, one specific I want to clarify is the reference to COVID. There were several days intermittently that Mr. Hernandez had called in sick. My question was not, did he test positive for it? My question was, what is the protocol when someone is sick in the village? And particularly in this time. I mean, I work at an office and they have a protocol. If you call in sick, they're going to ask you. You can say, no, I'm not going to answer that question. But as a manager, I would hope that if COVID were implicated, that he would come forward with that information and let the police chief know. But primarily, I was asking for what is the protocol? And to this day, as we sit here, I don't know what the village protocol is when there's an employee that calls in sick. And that should be in place. It's part of the CDC guidelines. The response I got is we are following the CDC guidelines, but I have been at Village Hall and seen that they are not being followed in other respects with regard to wearing masks and other things. So the question was in general about a policy and not about one employee's particular health issue. Aside from that, you know, if you want to indict me or if you want me to respond to any of those things, if you have a question about them, I would expect that you give me the courtesy of an opportunity to respond more fully. And other than that, I think we have a lot of business to take care of, very serious business to take care of today. Mr. Hernandez was afforded his opportunity to speak. I thank him for his service in the village, but it's time for us to move on.
Okay, thank you. I think Vice Mayor Kennedy is trying to speak.
You're on mute.
Yeah, since my name was brought up, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay. Since my name was brought up, I need to say something very quickly. And I was not planning to say anything, so I'm just going to say a couple of things in response. First of all, I wish David well. I know he has some health issues that he brought up, so I'm not, you know, spilling beans here by saying he has some health issues that may have been exacerbated by his job here, and I wish him well. I've had lots of personal conversations with David in that regard as well. I happen to have had what I consider to be a nice working relationship with him. He may think otherwise now, so I was a little surprised to hear some of the things he said about me, but if that comes out in the future in whatever way, then I'll respond to them more fully then. He seems to take issue to the number of emails that I sent to him, and I will neither explain nor defend that, but anybody who wants to see my emails can request them. They're all a matter of public record, and you can see how many of my emails to David were in response to concerns and problems that residents contacted me about, and I'm certainly not going to ignore a resident who has a problem and not try to help point them in the right direction. And if you look at the emails, you can also see for yourself how many of my emails may have been repeat emails because things either were not replied to or were not handled to someone's satisfaction and left lying there. So, you know, I'm pretty good at following up on details, I like to think. So there was certainly a lot of follow-up in there as well. And anyone can also get my phone log and David's phone log. Oh, I don't know if you can get David's phone log, but you can get mine. And you can see the incoming and outbound calls between my village cell phone and David Hernandez's phone. As he said, I'm not sure he was referencing me, but, you know, different times of the day and night, because there were certainly a fair number of conversations that he initiated either early in the morning, on weekends, or late in the evening. So that's all very clear if you pull up phone records as well. I'm not going to get into a finger pointing thing here with everyone, because as I said many times here on public record, I don't hold David responsible for his failures and the village's failures right now. I hold the commission responsible, all 5 of us. Certainly the 3 who voted not to start the search, but all 5 of us, because we do act as a body. So I have to take some blame in that as well. I could have done a better job convincing you, I suppose. But I do want to say that anybody who wants to see all of that can pull it up. I hope this doesn't turn into the next ugly episode in the village of Biscayne Park. We have another lawsuit that we're dealing with right now between a commissioner and the village And Dan, I was happy to hear you speak from your heart. I know you were reading it from off of a piece of paper, but it did sound like it came from your heart. And I know you mean well for this village. So let's let it go at that. It is 12:37 on a Thursday. I'm looking at the people who are attending this meeting, and the vast majority of you are either retired or self-employed, and you make your own schedules. I'm not one of those people. I have a job that pays my bills. Biscayne Park gets plenty out of me for the $167 a month that it pays me to do this. And I rather resent, I have to say, being asked to attend a meeting at 12 noon on a Thursday when I can make myself available every evening, and I said I would. So this emergency meeting called at 12 noon, I find to be highly inappropriate and disrespectful of the commissioners who have real jobs and also the residents who have real jobs and can't attend. So I find this whole thing to be rather inappropriate, the timing of it, I should say. Let's move on, figure out what we're going to do about an interim village manager, hope possibly a permanent village manager today, but I had to say that in response to what David and Dan Samari both said. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Tudor, do you have anything to say? He's muted, Roseanne.
I'm unmuted.
Okay, you're unmuted.
Yep. No, nothing added this time. We'll go, yeah, I think we should go ahead and jump into the business. I'm sure these matters will be addressed at another commission meeting.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to start the discussion on the interim village manager. I think that we already have a precedent set in Biscayne Park where we had Maria, the clerk, as interim manager for 6 months when we had a resignation of a manager. And I would like to propose that we make Maria the interim village manager. And while we're in a state of emergency, we have Chief Luis Cabrera. That is the only one that has been a city manager. And he's going through accreditation for the police. And he is the emergency incident manager. He's also in charge in case of a hurricane. He is our EOC representative. And he can assist Roseanne Prado. And I would like to open that up for discussion.
Mayor, let me just make a quick correction before you open it.
Okay, what did I say wrong?
Yeah, it's Roseanne Prado, our clerk. Roseanne.
Right. Didn't I say Roseanne?
No, the first time you said Maria.
Oh, I'm sorry, Roseanne.
You were
Prado.
talking about precedent. She said it correctly. Jenny, you said it correctly.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any discussion? Any about?
Just a matter of order, a point of order is we have items on an agenda with a backup, and this proposal, rather than address the things that were published for discussion, you're asking us to entertain a different proposal that was not published. In other words,
Okay.
we're disregarding what's on the agenda and moving straight to your unpublished proposal. Is that right?
Yes, unless you'd like to discuss your recommendation on the village manager selection process, go right ahead.
Well, I think that we should stick to the agenda. That seems to be the most efficient
Right.
way to get through the business we have to address today. And when we get to the point of discussion for an interim manager, then certainly all proposals can be discussed, but the first ones should be the ones that are on the agenda.
Okay, go ahead. It's your agenda item.
So the agenda seems to be changed. The order of business seems to be changed. What was initially on the agenda as manager selection process was moved down to C rather than B. Chair, what is your preference to discuss first?
What would you like to discuss first?
Well, when you flip through the pages, the first item that comes up after the agenda is the village manager selection process.
Selection process. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm not going to read the entire memo to you. We know where we are, how we got here. We terminated the former manager in March, and we sort of, everything was suspended right there. Now we are without two positions, without the manager and without the public works director. And so it's really time for us to get on the stick and get this moving, this manager selection process. What I've proposed is similar to what has been proposed before. The requirements for the job are pretty much out of the charter, the duties that are set out for a manager in the charter. I take note of one of the public comments referring to the rate of pay for the manager. That is certainly something that we should consider. Although the advertisement itself, I don't believe refers to the compensation to be paid. I would
Correct.
like.
That's correct, Commissioner.
Okay, so I would like us to move forward with the advertisement immediately, tweaked in any way that the majority of us feel like perhaps it needs to be tweaked, and put it out for 2 to 3 weeks, collect resumes, and then proceed with a selection process through 2 panels and a vetting of a short list, so that we can get through this within the next 6 and at the farthest point 8 weeks out. I think that it is an exigent matter, and we need to move forward with a permanent manager. Creating, not having that permanent position in place creates a lot of uncertainty, not only with regard to village finances and resident services, but also our staff. A lot of comments are directed about how we care for our staff, and yeah, it's really irresponsible for us to leave our people, their workplace in limbo, wondering who's going to be the next person that I have to in my chain of command here. So I think it's imperative that we move forward with it. I note your well, let's get through this part, and then we can talk about the interim. So I make a motion that we move forward with an advertisement to solicit for a manager and follow the process as set out in my proposal.
I'll second that for discussion.
Okay, seconded by Vice Mayor. I'm just looking at, did we, in prior years, as a question, Commissioner Ross, in prior years, I know each commissioner selected a person to sit on this board. You said that 2 are at large. And I was just wondering, did we do that in the past where we had 2 extra besides the 5 commissioners? Did we?
Yes.
We had 3 extra. We did do that prior?
There were 7 people appointed, and 5, yes. I copied this from the last process.
Okay, that was my question. Okay.
Ginny, if I could respond to that as well. I'll remind you that the first time you and I met was when you and I sat on one of these selection committees.
Yes.
And what happened was, it was when I first moved here, what happened was at the commission meeting, when the commission was selecting people to be on that committee, they decided that everybody who applied to be on that committee should be on the committee, and they welcomed everybody. I don't recall exactly how many people were there, but it was a larger group than 7, because the commission just decided, you know what, if everybody wants to get involved, let's let them all get involved, and they put everybody on the committee. So there is a precedent that we did not select 7 people, that they put everybody who nominated themselves to be on. I'm just reminding you all of that.
Okay, I didn't think that was the way. Commissioner Ross, was that the way? I thought it was each commissioner recommending a person.
I
I
picked up the papers that were used in the last solicitation process, and I dusted them off. I did not go to the actual minutes to see what was implemented, but I would caution having a group of more than 7 or 8 people, because we want to get through this quickly, and we don't want it to become an unruly process.
No, I just brought that up to remind you that that was done before, and I have a specific memory of that because I was so new to the village and I was not nominated by an individual commissioner. I was brought in with everybody who applied. So I'm just reminding you of that. I'm not advocating for it.
Oh, okay.
Mayor, I believe that Mr. Herring has something to say.
Okay, Mr. Herron?
Yeah, you know, as you all know, the charter provides that there are two positions that the commission has the direct authority to hire, the manager and the attorney. In that regard, you all are talking about, you know, what has been done in the past, and certainly I would not discourage you all from looking at that. But I do want to make it very clear to all of you that to the extent that this is the one of the two positions that you all have complete discretion in the hiring process, it is up to you all to decide what that is, whether you do it by committee or not, and, you know, dispense with that because of the circumstances. So it is your process and your notice to be placed in the trades. It's all at your discretion. So I just want to make that clear to you. There's not a particular way that you have to do this. You're free to take what has been done in the past, follow it, modify it, throw it out, and start from scratch. It's whatever you all want to do.
Okay, understood. Okay.
I kind of like the idea of each commissioner putting a person in and two at large, as Commissioner Ross suggested. Any other discussion on that, Commissioner Tudor?
Yeah, just a quick discussion. I know in the past we've also used submitted applications to the Miami-Dade City and County Managers Association. They'll rank them, submit them back. It's similar to what we did with the resident committee. I know it seems like every time the commission appoints a resident committee and each commissioner puts a person on that resident committee, there's always this back and forth that happens that it's not truly an independent board. It's simply individuals that are just making decisions based on the individual commissioner that put them on that board. So my personal recommendation would be to submit the qualified resumes after they're reviewed by the manager or the interim manager, whoever that should be, and the clerk, have them do the first look through on the applications, make sure they meet all the qualifications, submit those to the Miami-Dade City and County Managers Association. And my personal recommendation would be to bypass the resident committee, and simply after we get the rankings from that Managers Association, then the commission hold a workshop with residents and then gather all the resident feedback at that time.
That's interesting. That's interesting. Any other comments on that?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Commissioner
Madam Mayor.
Samaria?
Yes, Madam Mayor. I still stick by what I said before. I feel strongly that the new commission should hire the manager. The advertise, I believe that we can do the advertising part now, and that should go out in mid-September. And still have the deadline is November 2nd. The clerk can then look at all the applications and cut the applications down and have it for where the new commission will decide the selection of the manager. I don't have a problem with sending the advertisement out, give it into November 2nd as the deadline, and have the clerk separate the applications and have the new commission, because I still stick, I'm not changing my vote as the new commission should be picking the city manager. Thank you.
Can I just say something?
Go ahead, Roseanne.
On the November 2nd, probably don't have the new commission seated yet.
I can't hear anything you're saying.
Echo.
Oh, let me.
It's back. It's.
Okay. All right. Better?
Yes.
All right. On the November 2nd meeting, commission meeting, we probably don't have the new commissioners in seat yet, because the election is on the 3rd. And it's going to take, I believe, because it's a general election, very big. We're going to take maybe 2 weeks to certify the election. So I believe by the 3rd week of November, then we'll be able to swear in the new commission. It's just a ballpark, you know?
Okay, Commissioner Kennedy?
Yeah, I have a couple of things, but I have a, you know, it's not a sizable list, but a couple of things I want to mention about the process that Rox is asking us to consider. But before I do that, it sounds to me like there's almost complete agreement to proceed with the process. So before, I mean, my opinion is we should, everyone knows that, I don't have to state that again. I also think it's pretty clear that as with the attorney process, if we start the process now, we're not required to hire one of these applicants. We could get 100 applications and go through the process and decide our gal or guy isn't there, and we do it again. We just did it with the attorney, right? We decided we wanted to try to scoop up more applicants. So we're not required to hire anyone. I just want to make sure everyone's clear on that. Am I correct, John Herron?
That is correct.
Correct.
Okay. So, but I do have some other things I want to talk about, some specific qualifications and things that are really quick, but I don't want to go through them if we're not going to start the process. So perhaps should we vote to start the process? We have a motion for discussion. Should we close discussion, have a vote? And if we decide to move forward with the process, then people could say, okay, under job description, I would like to change this.
Okay.
I'd rather not waste time. I got to get back to work.
So I thought the motion was to move forward with
with the advertisement for a new.
I did say the advertisement and the selection process. So let's move forward. I make a motion that we move forward with the advertisement. You mentioned some qualifications you wanted to have in there, Mac.
So would I have to do that now, Rox? I would have to tell them, say what they are now because we're going to vote on it then?
No, I'm going to amend my motion to move forward with the advertisement period. We have a second. We'll get your changes.
Okay, thank you. I'll second that.
Okay, second. Roseanne, you want to call the roll or?
Yes. Mayor Hoffman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kennedy?
Yes.
Commissioner Ross?
Yes.
Commissioner Samari?
Now, I just want to be sure. I tried to speak, but it looks like I was muted. I want to be sure I understand. This is just to go advertisement to go forward. This is not for this commission to pick the city manager. Is that correct?
Correct, where to start.
We start the process.
Start the process. Okay, I don't have a problem starting the process, but not to have this commission pick the city manager. Correct. Okay.
Commissioner Tudor?
Yes, to move forward on the application, but I think we need to discuss the time frame of it.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And can I ask for how long I keep the advertisement, or should leave it open?
We're not there yet, I think, Roseanne. We're going to tweak it a little bit.
Okay.
Right, so this passed that we're going to proceed with an advertisement. It's just what.
All right.
Correct.
Okay. Now the suggestions on the, are we going to discuss what was going to be in the ad?
Yeah, so I have a couple of comments there, and I don't have to go first. I'm just saying I have a couple of comments on some specific items now that we've agreed to move forward.
Okay, do you want to start?
Sure, I'll make it really quick. So if you look at the documents that Rox provided under description, if everyone pulls up the PDF, if they want to reference the PDF, under description, and I didn't mark the page number here, but I'll just read to you what I'm suggesting we add here. Towards the end, it says day-to-day execution. I would like to add comma, and will also assist the commission in setting long-term and annual goals and action plans that are reflected in the annual village budget. So what I'm saying is, in the job description, make it clear that the manager assists the commission in setting long-term and annual goals and action plans that are reflected in the annual village budget. I feel that that important element is missing. Now, do you want to discuss that and possibly agree to that before I move on to my next point, or should I go through all of my points? I find that confusing when we do it that way because then everyone forgets the first thing.
Let's do one by one, I think.
Okay.
It's okay with me.
So that is my suggestion under description.
I don't see exactly.
And if you'd like me to read it again, I can.
Yeah, well, I don't see also the description.
Could I suggest,
I don't see it under the discussion.
could I suggest, Matt, because I don't see the word description, but if we agree to the concept, maybe you can send the clerk a delineated document so that she can incorporate the change.
Okay.
Yeah, but then the
Okay, I
other
can do that.
commission has to see now.
If we agree on the concept, I think the wording could be, you know, the insert could be worked out.
Okay.
Okay, so the concept is that the manager helps us, helps us set long-term and annual goals and action plans that help those goals become reality, and that those are reflected in the annual village budget. That we have goals, an action plan to achieve them, and that's all reflected in the budget in some way. So that's the manager's job as the CEO of this village, to help us make that happen. Help the commission make that happen, whoever the commission is.
You want that under expected duties? Is that where you're looking from, Mac?
Yeah.
Under expected duties.
Okay, should I go to the next one?
Yeah.
Okay. The next one is, it's actually a question more than a suggestion for a change. It says that under qualifications, Roxy suggests that they have that they have a surety bond, but our charter says they're required to have a fidelity bond. It might be semantics. I just need to understand what the difference is, or if they are the same thing.
Commissioner Ross, what's the difference?
I believe they're the same thing. I might have, I mean, as I say, I just dusted off what was used before, a surety or a fidelity.
Okay.
I think it's interchangeable, but I could leave that if it's a legal technicality for John, the attorney, to answer.
I would always suggest that we just go with the language in the charter.
Okay, then that should be changed to fidelity bond.
Where is that, Mac, in the doc?
Required.
I don't know. I'm looking for
Got it.
required qualifications. It's on page 2, required qualifications at the very end.
Got it.
Provide a surety bond acceptable to the village. Just change that to fidelity bond so it matches the language of the charter.
Yeah.
Okay.
You see that?
Then
on
under
the,
expected
duties is the next one. Go ahead.
Yeah, under expected duties, let me pull it up here so I can tell you exactly where it is. It talks about work ethic. It's under other attributes towards the bottom of page 3. It says a dedicated professional with a strong work ethic. I would like to recommend that we add some language there that says a strong work ethic, and this addition, and a high level of personal and professional accountability to the village commission, to residents, and to goals and action plans as determined by the commission. That there's accountability built into it, that this person recognizes that they are accountable to the commission, to residents, and to goals and action plans that we determine.
I'm sorry, Vice Mayor, can you go a little bit slower and point?
Of course, of course. And Roseanne, if everyone agrees to this kind of in theory but based on what I'm saying, I can certainly email this to you. I have it all written out. After work ethic, add the language.
Right.
And high level.
Why don't you send that to her? Why don't you send that to her? That's a better idea, Commissioner Kennedy.
Okay. Does anyone else want to hear me say that again?
I agree with your,
Rox?
I agree with your insert. If we could just get everyone a consensus on agreement or disagreement, then it could be added.
Commissioner Tucker?
Dan's trying to talk and he's muted.
I think Commissioner Samaria.
Yeah, I'm still trying to understand the first part of the goals. In concept, I agree with you about the goals. Are we suggesting to the city manager what we would like to see in goals, but we're not telling him or her what to do. We're just saying, this is the goals that we would like to see you to achieve. I want to be sure I understand that.
I'm sorry, Dan, I missed the last part.
Okay. What you're saying, I like, but I want to be sure I understand in reference to goals. Are you suggesting that the commission give the city manager, he or she, goals that we would like to see, but not tell them that they have to follow it, meaning that they're required to do it?
I think the easy answer there is yes. It's our responsibility to set goals for this village and hold the manager to accomplishing those goals. That's the measure that we would have in place for that person. Is that what you're asking me? I think you're asking, I think, Dan, what you're suggesting is the manager responsible to the commission? The answer is yes.
Yes, but is he required to, if we set a goal, we want you to jump over this roof, that he has to do it, even if he doesn't think that it has to be done? I think that's considered micromanaging the manager. I don't have a problem if we said, okay, city manager, this is some of the goals that we would like to see as a commissioner to accomplish. And then if he doesn't accomplish those goals that you set, I just don't think we should be micromanaging the manager. And I think that's what.
Well, there's a difference between micromanaging and having expectations and accountability. Micromanaging would be the process one takes to get to that goal. But yes, if you're saying we shouldn't micromanage, that is a process issue. All the steps that are taking place. The goal itself is something completely different. And that's what they're accountable to, is the goal, not the steps between A and B. It's getting to B. Boy, there's a lot of that background noise again. It's really distracting.
Can I interrupt a little bit? Commissioner Samara, can you move far from the phone, please?
What?
Can you move your hands far away from the phone, please? I believe when you move, yeah, that's better. Okay. Let's see. No, move far.
Move away.
Yeah.
I can't.
I think perhaps, Roseanne, the issue is that both of Dan Samaria's access points are unmuted. One needs to be turned off.
Okay.
If Caesar's there, you could send him over, because okay.
Sounds better.
Better? Okay. No?
No. Dan, if I could suggest something that might give you a level of comfort, is right now we're talking about an advertisement to invite people to apply for the job. Right. And this is just one suggested attribute for a successful candidate. This is not actually putting a policy in place. We're just saying a good candidate would have this ability.
Okay, that's all I was asking. That's the question I was asking.
Okay.
I just want to be sure that when I'm
okay.
Okay, now do you say
should I?
Matt?
Yeah, I have so are we trying to come to an agreement on each of these things before I move on?
Yes.
Right.
So
okay, well, do you guys want to? Okay. The next thing is under residency, it says they have to live in Miami-Dade and Broward County. Should we put in there that that's at their own expense, or is that to be expected and understood?
I think it's understood.
And when must that residency be established? Because if we have someone who we say they have to live in one of these two counties, but they live in Palm Beach County currently, what is the expectation of when they'll do that? Is there a certain amount of time that we require? It seems rather wide open if they don't live in one of those two counties now. I don't want to find ourselves in the position of someone who takes the job from a long distance and agrees to do it
and doesn't move,
and to move here, and then they don't, and we haven't really held them accountable for it.
Yeah. Can I suggest, Mac, that could be a negotiated point when we, interview a short list and interview people, that could be a point of negotiation in the agreement eventually.
That makes sense.
That makes sense.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Compensation, I wanted to discuss compensation, but that is definitely something we'll discuss at the time. But it does have language in there about, commensurate with their experience. I think it says, and within our budget is public, so they know what our budgeted amount is, which is, shy of $85,000. So when we start our budgeting conversations here in the next couple of weeks, I think we should have that conversation then, because people who are applying now can see what it is. And we need to decide here in the next, couple of months as we look at budget, what it is we're gonna pay someone. Okay, regarding the review and selection process, I have some ideas I want to throw out there, and I'm not necessarily advocating for them really strongly. I just thought as I was reading this and understanding how the process works, these might be things we would consider. Regarding the panel of residents, I
up?
understand.
Sorry to
I'm sorry.
interrupt. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Mac, but can we close up on the advertisement so that Roseanne knows the language? You're going to transmit it to her. We all agreed on the inserts we agreed on. I don't know that we need to amend our motion or
Do
say.
we have a voice vote on that? Is everybody in agreement?
But I'll
with the
still have an
advertisement?
opportunity to speak on the other topics.
Agreed.
Yeah, so
Yeah. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
this motion is to advertise with those changes suggested.
Yes. And then I think we need to say, we want the we already decided to move forward. We'd like the advertisement to be published as soon as possible, as soon as the changes could be incorporated. And I propose that we have the ad live for 2 weeks to receive resumes.
You don't think it should be longer? What did we normally do, Roseanne?
I think it will be longer because, you know, at this time, I only have the Florida League of Cities, the Miami-Dade, Florida, not Miami-Dade, I'm sorry, Florida Managers Association, which include Miami-Dade, and our own website. But if you guys want me to go like those website of employment, like Monster, Indeed, things like that.
What was the last time we advertised? How long did it run?
The time frame, I'm not so sure.
3 weeks?
3 weeks? Okay.
3 weeks? Well, why don't we do 3 weeks and hope we get enough and we won't have to extend it.
Okay.
Does anybody else have anything to say about that? Commissioner Tudor?
Yeah, real quick. Yeah, I think before we did 3 weeks, I think what we just went through with the current
Attorney.
hiring for the attorney, I think we've seen that we may need to look at extending the advertisement out. I would say, you know, we could just run it out for 30 days, something like that. I know some people don't want to admit that this COVID-19 has any impact on this, but I think we've seen that from, I think in between the COVID-19 and I think some of the reputational harm that the village has with everything that's gone on, I think we need to extend out that window to at least 30 days in order to try to get as many candidates as we can in.
Commissioner Samaria, I see your hand up. You're muted. Can you unmute him?
Yes. Hold on.
Yeah, I've been trying to speak, so I don't know what's going on with this mic system. Maybe not seeing my hand when I'm raising my hand, clerk, but I've been trying to speak.
Sorry. Okay, talk.
Okay, what I'm trying to, if I understand, you're going to have this advertisement done, let's say in 3 weeks. That means you're accepting applications. So that means you either two things. You're going to have the city manager pick before we decided what the date is, because, or they're going to just be, I mean, how long is this advertisement supposed to be for? Because I'm hearing that you're going to want to put this advertisement out right away, and we're going to get the applications within a month's time. Are you either saying you're going to have the applications sitting around for 2 months, or you're going to try to pick the city manager now?
I think that Commissioner Tudor recommends 30 days. Commissioner Ross recommends 3 weeks. 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
Okay, so
I think the discussion, because I like the 30 days, but I also like the idea of sending all the applications to that managers group that Commissioner Tudor spoke about.
I think right now we're talking about the ad only.
Madam Mayor, if you have the advertising, even for 30 days, and it goes out now, this is what, July? So you're saying by the end of August, we're going to have all the supposedly applications going on. What are you going to do from August to November? Or are you saying that you're going to pick the city? Because this is what I'm hearing. I'm beginning to hear that you're going to pick a city manager between August and October.
Roseanne?
Also, I want to remind everyone that the qualifications for the election on November, it starts on August 3rd and goes to August 21st. So you have the opportunity to include all the candidates, whether they win or not, they can be on the selection, I would say.
Well, and all members of the public are available to are allowed to make comment whenever we would, at any point when we have a meeting to discuss all these candidates or interviews or whatever, the public can, any member of the public can comment then too.
Absolutely.
Just to move this along, I'm going to make a motion. Originally, I said 2 weeks. Commissioner Tudor said 30 days. I'm going to make a motion that we advertise for a period of 3 weeks.
3 weeks?
3 weeks. If I
I'll
can have a
second that.
And then let's take a vote.
Any discussion on the 3 weeks?
I think we've all had a say about it.
I kind of like the 30 days. Okay, you want to take a vote on the 3 weeks?
Okay. Mayor Hopping?
On the question, do you have a comment, Commissioner Samaria?
I'm trying to. My question has still not been answered. The advertisement, even if we do 3 weeks and 30 days, it still doesn't say what are you going to do with the applications once they come in at 30 days?
We haven't reached that part of the
discuss that next.
discussion yet.
Yeah.
But you can't do the advertising until we figure out when the city manager is going to be picked.
We
The
call it-
advertisement has to go out when we come to the conclusion when the applications are going to be accepted. If the new commission is going to do it or this commission is going to do it, that has to come first before the advertising, when the advertising goes out.
Dan, right now, if I may, right now, we're just deciding to put the ad out for a certain period of time. Rox suggested, she made a motion for 3 weeks and I seconded. That's all we're deciding right now.
Okay,
Nothing
so
else is locked in. I know your concern is that we're going to rush through a process and hire someone in some way. That hasn't even been discussed yet. So far, it's just an ad being placed.
Okay.
No discussion about process after
Vote on
that.
the 3 weeks?
If I may,
Okay.
just one last comment, if I may, and then I hope we can take a vote, is just in the last couple of days, speaking to different people, there are several managers, assistant managers that are out there in transition and looking for positions. I haven't spoken to any of them, but I have spoken to managers who are in place that know of people in transition. We might get a very qualified candidate. We might get no one and then have to extend the time to solicit. So I'm just saying, let's do 3 weeks.
I'm stepping out of this meeting. I vote yes. I have to go take a call from my boss. Sorry.
I think that we should take a vote on the 3 weeks.
Okay. Mayor Hopping?
No.
Vice
I'd like the
Mayor
30 days.
left, but he mentioned that he wants the 3 weeks, right?
Max said yes.
Yes. Commissioner Ross?
Yes.
Commissioner Samaria?
No, 30 days I'm for, but not 3 weeks.
Okay. Commissioner Tudor?
No. But I would like to make a motion that we put out the advertisement for a period of 30 days, not
I'll
to
second
exceed
that motion.
45.
Okay. 30 days.
Yes.
Can we just have a voice vote and speed it along?
Okay, I'm in favor of the 30 days.
Fine.
Commissioner Samaria?
Are you okay with the
For
30 days?
for the 30 days, yes.
Okay.
Okay, Commissioner Tudor, you said yes, correct?
Yes.
The motion.
We got 4-0. 4-1 because.
Okay, so then that passes, that we'll do 30 days?
I think the vote was 4-0, Roseanne. We can't count Mac, he's not here.
Right. Okay, good. Okay, the next item. Commissioner Ross, these are yours.
So the selection process, I think to be clear up where we're gonna advertise, Roseanne, the Miami-Dade League of Cities, Florida League of Cities, the Managers Association, the Miami-Dade Managers Association, the Florida City County Management. It's all in the memo.
Yeah, Miami-Dade Association for the manager, they don't advertise. The Florida Managers Association, yes, they advertise. I just want to put that point.
I'm back.
All the others, or the other agencies, yes, they advertise.
Okay, okay. If I come up with any other free venues, I think we should take advantage of them. Yeah. So Mac, just to bring you
What
up,
did I miss, please?
while you were
Yeah.
gone, we couldn't get a majority to do 3 weeks, so we're gonna do 30 days out on the advertisement. And now we're
Okay,
gonna talk
did my vote register?
No,
for 3 weeks, yes, but it was a 3 to 2.
Okay.
So.
But my vote
now
did
we're
register on that 3 to 2, okay.
Now we're gonna talk about the selection, the process for selection. You had comments or?
Okay.
Roseanne,
Shall I go
Roseanne,
first?
you
Yeah.
got Dan waving his hand.
He was unmuted. He muted himself.
he wants to unmute.
There you go.
Yes, I like to, if possible, to be fair to Commissioner Kennedy, since he's back. I don't know if it's possible we can do it. If we can have the vote taken that, because I know he was in favor, and I like to have it for the record that it was 5-0 instead of 4-0, if that's what he was voting for. I think it's just fair to him.
4-0,
that
and
if we can.
Vice Mayor Cannon, do you?
Read the motion to me, please, and I'll vote. You can all vote again.
The motion was to keep the advertisement for 30 days.
I'll say yes to that.
Okay, so 5-0.
Okay,
Thank
thank you,
you, Dan.
Commissioner Kennedy. You're welcome, sir.
Okay, Commissioner Kennedy, you wanted to talk
Shall I go
about-
first? Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so in the review and selection process, I have a couple of things I want to bring up after having read that. So under the two panels, panel A is the resident panel. I am in favor of having a resident panel, and I have a couple of comments about that I would, I'm not necessarily advocating for all of these things. I obviously think they're interesting ideas, or I wouldn't be bringing them up, but I would like to hear your opinions on that, and we can make a determination. First of all, should we limit resident participation of spouses and cohabitators? I looked in the charter. I was of the understanding that spouses of commissioners cannot be on boards, and I know this isn't a board, but I couldn't find language about that. But I was always of that understanding. I don't know where I heard it, but I may be wrong. But should we limit participation of spouses and cohabitators? Does anyone have an opinion on that?
I certainly think so, that we should limit that.
And what I mean by is like I could not nominate my husband to be on the, and nor could
Correct.
anyone to be on
Correct.
the, yeah.
We understand that, right?
Does anyone have an opinion on that? Anyone else have an opinion?
I think Commissioner Tuda?
Yeah, I think the common practice, my understanding has been that we have those restrictions on the boards, and it's kind of carried over to the committees. So yeah, I say I'm fine with just, if we're going to do a resident committee, fine with maintaining that restriction.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that go ahead, Russ.
if I may, as the person who took a lot of flack for introducing that provision in our board's ordinance, you get more participation, a broader range of perspective when you go outside of, I trust Chuck with every decision, but I think it would be more inviting for other households to take part in the process.
I agree.
If spouses are not there.
Right.
I didn't know that was your item that you had brought up before. Okay, so that's one thing. I have a question about how the at-large resident appointments are made. So I understand that we each appoint one person, and I'm good with that. But how do the two at-large appointments get made? Are they from people who apply and then we vote on it? How does that work?
What's happened before is the clerk would send out a solicitation for residents who want to be involved. Here's the application, and
Okay.
And we can either select from those, or if someone else brings one in, that's.
Wouldn't it be normal to have, thinking of the way it's done in politics, having like a former commissioner as our at-large?
Jenny, it's interesting. So Jenny, it's interesting that you bring that up. Let me then jump to my next one, because you might want to blend these together. Now, I will completely agree with what Rock said before when I reminded everybody that a previous commission had appointed all applicants to the board, and it was a very large group. And Ginny, you and I sat on that
But
committee. I
I
keep
don't
calling it a board.
remember it the
It's a
same way
committee.
you do. I don't
Well,
remember it the
okay.
same
Well,
way
let's.
you do, but
Okay.
anyhow.
Well, maybe we could go back and check, but regardless, and I agree with Rox that a larger group becomes unwieldy, and it's hard to sort of get opinion from a bigger group. However, I have two specific ideas that I think are worth discussing. In addition to the people that we put on the board and what is in the proposal in front of us, I think it might be an interesting idea to invite, not appoint, invite every former elected commissioner who still resides in the village to also be on this committee. And the reason I do that is these people have been elected by residents before. So they had the support of residents at one point when they ran for office. They have a certain level of institutional knowledge. Some of them may have gone through this process before, but as a commissioner, they certainly worked with the manager. So they have institutional knowledge, possibly about the selection process, but they certainly, having worked alongside a manager, know what it takes and what worked and what didn't work. They're kind of our, don't take this the wrong way, these former commissioners are kind of our elder statesmen, and I'm not saying that in relation to their age. I'm saying it in relation to the fact that they have been committed to this village in the past. So I think it might be an interesting idea that we move forward with the panel, but we also invite all the former elected commissioners, all of them who still reside in the village, to also join almost as a professional courtesy, but also to tap into their institutional knowledge. The exact same idea, I think we might consider inviting each board chair, we have 4 boards, and the foundation chair to also join the committee because of their level of institutional knowledge, commitment to the village, and the fact that board chairs do work with the manager and have direct experience and interaction with the manager. I just think that, and some of those people might be people that one of us would nominate anyway, right? But it seems to me we have this, this resource that we could tap into. Now that could possibly make the group larger because they, again, they'd be invited. Yeah, it might be unwieldy, but they would be invited, not required, obviously. We can't force them to do it, but it might be an interesting idea to invite former elected commissioners and the board chairs and the foundation chair to join in the committee as well.
And what do we do?
Perhaps there's a way to include them. Well, we had a large group before, Ginny. Well, if they do, kind of the worst case scenario might actually be the best case scenario because we've tapped into all that brain power, right? And Ginny, you and I were part of a very large group that helped whittle it down, and we got it done. So it got done. We elected a chair. It was Gary Kuehl, and he managed the whole thing for us, and we got through it. It's a thought that I think is interesting, and I'd like to hear your opinion on it.
Madam Mayor.
Geez, damn.
Madam Mayor.
Samaria?
I like the idea, but I don't think that they should have a vote on who the final applications. I don't mind getting their experience and their point of view from it, but I think that the committee members that this commission picks is the one that should make the vote. I can listen to their ideas because I agree with you 100%. Past commissioners do have a lot of experience in this, but we were elected to pick the city manager, not former commissioners and so on. So I'm open for that to be there, but not for them to vote on it.
Dan, to be clear, we're not talking about voting on the manager. They'd be part of the selection committee that would whittle down to a group of a maximum of 10 applicants that come to us. They do not get a vote in who gets hired. No one on that committee does.
But they get a vote that who goes forward.
Correct, they do. And so does the outside panel.
Commissioner Ross?
Yeah, I think that it's a nice idea. I actually would have in mind myself to appoint someone who served on commission before. But it can become really, really burdensome to have a group of 12 people trying to discuss it. What I find more appealing is to invite the candidates that have qualified to be part of the panel, because two or three of them potentially would be working with this next manager.
You mean the candidates for commission in the November election?
Right. The qualification period will have ended August 23rd. This ad is going to run until August 17 or 18. So I think we should invite them to be part of. In other words, we could pick our 7 people and invite the candidates to be part of that panel.
But can they can't do it because there's a possibility that they're going to be voting for somebody to come out of there, right? Am I correct, Commissioner Ross?
The panel is going to make a recommendation of 10, if we say 10,
Right.
a short list of people. Candidates are residents until they become elected, so they certainly can be served on a panel.
And they're not subject to sunshine either.
I'm almost wondering if we wouldn't, I mean, we'd like to do it in 2020. I just can't imagine that many people, you know, that we could move forward with that many people as part of.
Well, I would be curious if we knew how many people were on that committee that you and I sat on, Jenny, because I'm picturing that gigantic table in the log cabin the night that we sat down.
I'm thinking 8, but I'm not
Oh,
sure. But
no,
I'm
it was more than that. No, it was more than that. No, because it was a
Madam-
big, huge square with people down every side.
Yeah. Madam Mayor, can I ask a question to the attorney?
Yes, Commissioner Samaria.
Okay. May I ask a question to the attorney? Because Commissioner Ross's idea I like. I just need to get clarification. This doesn't, I know that they're not, because I definitely want the candidates that are running to be involved, at least in this part, because they are going to make a decision later on.
And what's the question? Can they do it?
Is it his
I think he's frozen.
frozen?
Commissioner Samaria? He's frozen.
Frozen. Or he's a very good
At
frozen statue.
being
like
a
you see on Lincoln
mime, he's
Road.
a mime.
Exactly.
Oh, there he is. Commissioner Samaria?
Yes, yes.
What is your question?
Mr. Hearn, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, Commissioner Ross's idea about having candidates that are going to run to be on, you know, to be with this committee, I like it. I just want to find out if there's not a violation, even though they're not commissioners yet, that, you know, they are going to be voting on this item in the future.
No, there's no prohibition on them being members or appointed to it. I would just have to mention the broader issue of if there's more than 3 or, you know, however number of candidates there are, it would seem to me that fairness would dictate that they would either one or all participate. And
John, what if one of them or more than one declined to participate?
Oh, that's up to them. Maybe I should rephrase that. They should be given the opportunity to participate.
They're all invited.
Right. I think that was Rox's idea. Okay.
Furthermore, a comment was made earlier. Hold on, let me finish because a comment was made by Commissioner Kennedy that this body would not be subject to sunshine law. Yes, they are.
Thank you.
No. What I meant is the candidates for office are not subject to sunshine.
No, because they're not elected.
But right, exactly.
Question.
But the committee's a different thing. I was talking about the candidates. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. I have to get it out before I forget my thought. If Commissioner Ross and Commissioner Kennedy run, they can't participate in that. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Okay, I just want to be sure. Okay.
Okay.
And Commissioner Tudor, of course.
Are we going to?
You almost got an exception, Will.
No, well, yeah, I almost.
I actually have a couple of other things I wanted to say, but it's about other things in there. But those were my comments about the resident panel. It was just the suggestion. It was limiting spouses and cohabitators and inviting former commissioners and board chairs because of their level of institutional knowledge. Inviting them. I'm going to guess a fair number of them would say no or wouldn't reply at all. So it's extending an invitation is really what it was. But the worst case scenario is they all say yes and we have a big committee. That in all transparency.
Any other discussion on that?
No, I have no problem with that. I think it's a good idea. But I want to clarify that I left out Commissioner Tudor, and I didn't mean to do that. Commissioner Tudor also can't participate. So.
Yeah, I just have one quick question on it, and I stated it earlier. I think once we get the rankings from the Managers Association, instead of utilizing the resident committee, I think it may be better suited if the commission holds a couple different workshops to get resident feedback.
That's interesting. That's interesting. I do like the idea of it going to the managers committee. Does everybody kind of agree with that, that we send all our resumes first there?
I like the managers committee, but I also like Commissioner Tudor's idea about I definitely want workshops. So if we have to have 1 or 2 workshops for the residents to participate, I think that's very important, especially with everything that we're going through.
Okay.
Well, let me ask a question about that, and I'm not sure who the question would be to, but my understanding of a workshop is it's kind of a brainstorming thing where people get to come in and talk about a topic where something is not being voted on by the commission. When we interview these candidates, the public is certainly available to come in and comment at those meetings. So without having a workshop, the public still has the ability to do that. A workshop is more of a back and forth kind of a thing, from my understanding. And I'm not certain why we would need or want that if we're going to have public interviews anyway, and conversations. Every consideration the commission makes will be in public. Dan, your sound is just killing me. I'm sorry, but it is so distracting.
It's the log cabin, unfortunately. That's what Caesar says. But getting back to this, the residents do not participate in the talking to the candidates. I don't know where that came from. The residents, that's not open.
No, but that's what a workshop is my point. Unless I'm misunderstanding, when you say workshop, a workshop is engagement, and people can make public comment at any meeting when we're discussing these candidates or interviewing them in public for that matter as well. There's always public comment at every public meeting.
I'd like to interject.
So I'm not certain why we need a workshop. Yeah.
I happen to agree with that. I don't think we need a workshop back and forth because they can make public comments. Commissioner Ross?
Yes, I think that we should try to make this, we're trying to hire a professional, and we should make this as professional a process as possible. I think workshop is something more relaxed and not really appropriate for to discuss people's resumes and backgrounds. I mean, we're talking about people who have reputations, and we would have no control in an environment like that, what might be said or how it would develop. So I'm more comfortable with the 2 panels as we've done before. It's certainly open to the public. The meetings are open to the public, but it's a little more controlled and more professional.
I agree with that. I think that we really don't want our candidates being exposed to the public if this gets out of hand. So I happen to agree with that.
They're going to be exposed eventually.
I know, but let's kind of try to work it in slowly so they don't get totally crazy, that they don't run out. I mean, they might run if we have that type of thing.
So should we break off this part and make a vote on panel A? We're going to have panel A. It's going to be 7 appointed, 5 each appoint, and 2 at large plus. Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we each appoint, invite the heads of the boards, the chair of the boards, and invite the qualified candidates to serve. Chuck told me that the last committee was 12 to 15 people. So at most, maybe that would bring 15 people. It still could be manageable. And there are times when someone just can't participate or declines to. So that would be
right. These are invitations. So
the 3 pools of inviting people to serve on this panel. So I make
so
a motion.
Rox, you're saying no to the former commissioners?
They could be, so one of us could select them for sure.
Okay.
Okay, now what about Commissioner Tudor's recommendation of sending all the applicants before the, what was that board?
Could we, I'm sorry, Jenny, could we take care of this panel A first? Let's have a voice vote at least to put this one to bed, and then we'll talk about the next one.
Okay.
So say it again, Rox, so we all understand.
So we have a panel comprised of residents, 5 will be one of each, if each of us appointing one. The next pool will be from the chairpersons of all of the boards and the foundation. And the third pool would be the qualified candidates for the November election.
You missed the 2 at large.
Yeah, I cut it back so that it wouldn't be that many.
Okay.
I think that's
Okay,
a great
that's fair.
idea.
I'm fine with
second
that.
I second
Okay.
that.
Okay.
Can
I'm
we
good
do a
with that.
voice vote on that? Does anybody disagree?
Okay.
Commissioner Samaria, do you?
Mayor Hopping,
Yes. Okay, we're doing that.
Vice Mayor Kennedy,
Yes.
Commissioner Ross,
Yes.
Commissioner Samaria. Hold on.
Muted again.
Okay.
I want to know if it's possible because Commissioner Kennedy's idea about inviting former commissioners to come, I like that. I would like to have them be
There's a
able to be
motion on the
here.
floor, Dan. Dan, there's a
Okay.
motion on the floor and we're voting.
Well, we got to do something about my mic because I'm not being heard.
Yeah, I think he
Okay.
was trying to talk, I think he was trying to talk before, in all fairness.
Okay.
Commissioner Samaria, the motion
Yes.
includes the
Okay,
resident.
just yes, just yes.
Commission.
Yes, because I'm not being heard. So, but yes, go ahead.
Okay. Commissioner Tudor,
No to the, no, that's a no.
okay. 4-1, motion passed.
Okay. Commissioner Ross, your second part?
So the panel B would be comprised of, and I left it blank, members from a professional association of municipal managers. My first recommendation would be for the Miami-Dade County City and County Managers Association. Generally, that's been a smaller panel, and I would leave it. These are volunteers that have no connection to our village. They're gonna do us a favor out of their sense of of love for the profession. So I would recommend reaching out to the president of the Miami-Dade County City and County Managers Association and asking him to sort of usher this through with himself and 2 people that he may select. In other words, I don't want to really dictate to them. We're asking them for a favor and have him then review it and come back to us with those people would not meet in a panel. They would individually review and then return to us their recommendation of top 5 candidates.
Okay, I agree with that.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree.
Commissioner Kennedy?
Yes, I'm good with that.
Okay. Okay, so that's taken care of on panel B. Okay.
Hey, can I drop something in here really quickly, Ginny?
Sure.
And I don't even know if this is a consideration, but it just all of a sudden popped in my head. We just decided to invite, not appoint, but invite the board chairs. We have a married couple as board chairs. Barbara and Gary Kuehl are both chairs of separate boards. That's not a problem, is it? I mean, I don't see a problem with it, but it just occurred to me.
But
It is a problem, Ross?
Which one?
Right. One of them will have to decline.
Let them make the decision themselves.
Okay, it just occurred to me that might be a conflict, and I didn't know if it really was or not. So
And
you're
if
saying
somebody
they'll have to
puts-
decide which one joins. Fair
If
enough.
somebody
Okay.
puts Barbara on the committee, then Gary can't come. No husbands and wives or no significant others.
I really did like Mac's suggestion to tap into the former commissioners, and so I encourage all of us to look for a former commissioner to appoint.
I'll consider that.
Okay.
Okay. All right, are we up to?
Okay. Are we moving on to other things because I have something about the narrowing the field and interview process section.
So can we set the time frame? The next thing was, after the 2 panels, is setting a time frame for when we're going to ask for those,
Well, at the close of the advertisement, when we see how many we have in, wouldn't we then send it on number B to the Managers Association?
okay, we can make that, you're saying we can decide that
Right,
in a couple of weeks.
right. Let's see how many we get in, and then we'll send it to the Managers Association first, ask them to review them.
Okay. Hey, Ginny, going back to this panel that we're going to appoint, we each have to appoint somebody. When do we do that? Should we just email it to Roseanne? Should we do that at the August 4th meeting and do it publicly? How do we do that?
Let me
How
check.
is it usually done? Roseanne, how is it usually done? Do you know?
Let me check the advertisement time frame. So if I start the advertisement, let's say next Monday.
Well, it's 30 days, so it's past the August meeting, certainly. August meeting is August 4th. So if we did it August 4th, we're ready to go.
So it's gonna be after the August. It's gonna be on the September meeting.
Hold on.
Okay, but should we name our people at the August meeting so we've determined who the panel is? So as soon as the application process is closed out, you can go ahead and start the process with them. So if we do that at the August 4th meeting, should we each come and make our nomination? Make our appointment, rather.
Sounds okay to me.
I think we should.
Any other
Okay,
comments?
I think we should.
Commissioner Samaria, you're unmuted. Go ahead.
It's getting frustrating that I can't communicate here, and it's not good.
No, go ahead.
'Cause I'm trying to communicate and nobody's hearing me. Okay. We're having this to be where we come back on August 1st. I'm really trying to understand this because I'm not really liking what I'm hearing here. August 4th is when we're going to come back with our members that we want to be on there. Then the advertisement is going to go out when? The advertisement is going to go out
On the 27th, July 27th?
July 27th. So that means from July 27th to August 27th is going to be the deadline, correct?
22.
So August 22. Okay. So then we're picking our board on August 4th, our members. So we're going to pick our board members on the 4th. Then they start, the board starts in September to, at August 27th, will be the end of the deadline. The clerk then, whatever amount, let's say if we got 20, 30 people, I don't think we're going to get that much, but 20, 30 people, then she puts it down to, let's say 10 that the commission agrees to go in front of the committee, and that would start in September, correct?
No. The clerk simply limits the field of all applicants to qualified applicants, the ones who meet the qualifications. All of those people then go to the committee.
You're right. That's what I meant to say. You're absolutely, thank you, Commissioner Command. That's what I meant. She's going to say whoever's not qualified. Yes. So all the applications will go to them. And that would start in September.
And the advertisement goes to run from July 22nd to August 27th?
Right.
Right.
So that, I can't hear you.
Well, I think the advertisement goes out as soon as it can go out and stays out for 30 days.
Right, for 30 days. But you're going to have, when the applications come in, the committee is going to take how long to do it. Because it's sounding like this commission so far from what I'm hearing is trying to pick the city manager before the November 2nd, meaning they have this commission pick the city manager. And if
we really have no idea how long the County Managers Association, how long it's going to take. I don't think so, Commissioner Samaria. I don't think anybody's even thinking about that yet. Is there any other comments on that?
For the new commission to come in.
I don't understand what the big problem with that is, but the process is the process. We're getting the process started. But back to Roseanne's point about not getting the ad out till July 27th, I thought we decided to get the ad out as soon as possible. Like as soon as you can get it out, get it out. I don't think we need to wait another 11 days if we can get it out sooner. This is absurd. I can't even.
I try
Listen.
my best, but, you know, we have the two.
I'm being set up somewhere because this mic's not working. I'm really getting pissed off.
Yeah, I
Oh,
think the
your
time
mic's
frame
working,
of
Dan.
when,
We heard that.
yeah, I think the time frame when the advertisement goes out is really going to be more. The clerk's going to have a better feel for that. So, I mean, I
Look it
don't
up.
see the advertisement going out tomorrow. I could see it. I mean, possibly sometime next week. But yeah, I would definitely defer to the clerk. We're definitely in unusual circumstances currently. So
Yeah,
When it's out, it's out.
We said as soon as we can do it. So as soon as.
Right, as soon as you can do it.
Exactly.
Okay. Are we past that?
Right, so August, we're gonna bring our nominations. I think that's a good thing to have on the agenda for August.
Sure. Let's get that on the agenda and just get that done. We can all, and it might be a good idea if we each bring two, because if I am last to go and someone nominates my person first, I need to be prepared with who I will name instead.
Okay.
So I'm coming with two names, my first choice and my second choice, in case someone takes my first choice before I get to them.
Okay. Are we up to appointment of a interim manager?
No, because I have one other thing under.
Under what?
Go ahead, Dan.
We still haven't finished. I mean, we
I think Ginny recognized me. Let me make this really quick. Narrowing the field and interview process. My question is, and it's a topic for conversation. We're now getting a field of applicants. They're going outside the village to that professional group, which is a good call. They're also going to a resident panel. The resident panel is going to select as many as 10. The professional group will select as many as 5. We will have as many as 15 candidates. My question is, should the commission, who has the ultimate responsibility of filling this position, should we be limited to the recommendations that come through those two boards? Or should we be able to consider applicants who didn't make either of those cuts if we feel there's a candidate there that should be part of the process? Not to hire them, but to put them into the process. I think that since we're ultimately responsible for filling this position, we should not be limited by other people's lists. I'm not certain it would happen. It feels a little forced to me that we would not be able to hire someone that we might feel really, really strongly about. We might all agree that candidate X from Pembroke Pines, I just made that up, is by candidate, but that person didn't get selected by either of the committees. I just think we should not limit ourselves, so we should be able to consider other applicants.
Then what, Madam Mayor,
Yeah.
Madam Mayor, then what is the purpose of the committees if we're not going to listen to what the committees give us the applications?
But we're going to listen to them.
No, if we decide to pick somebody, I agree with you, Commissioner Kenny, it probably won't happen, but let's say we say applicant B we like, and the committee doesn't even have them in their 10, that should not be. I mean, that's the whole purpose. I'm trying to log in, I apologize.
Well, the purpose of those panels is to get opinions from people whose opinions we value, but ultimately it's our responsibility.
I think we can always make a motion to open something up during our negotiations if one of us feel really strong about
So
this.
you're saying that if
I'm not certain we can if we pass this.
Madam Mayor, you're saying, Madam Mayor, I want to be sure I understand this. You're saying that if I find an outside person that the committee has never even talked about, we should talk about considering that person? Because to me, then it's a waste of time to have
No.
No one ever said that. No one said that.
No.
If
No,
I can make
he's-
a comment?
Commissioner Ross?
Yeah, so I think it's a good idea what Mac is suggesting, provided that that person that is pulled back into the process gains a majority of the commission. At least 3 commissioners say, this person might have been overlooked and we want to bring them back into the process. And we save them.
I think it's
that's what I
completely
had
fair
said,
and
that we
reasonable.
always have that right.
Okay, Commissioner
Well, not
Kennedy.
per this process. The way the process is written that we're discussing, we don't. We don't. So we need to make sure that that change is made so it's clear that we're getting 10 applicants from the resident panel, we're getting 5 from the professional panel, and that any commissioner could nominate a non-qualified, or not a non-qualified, but a non-submitted applicant, and we would vote on it, and And if 3 people agree that candidate X should be included in the mix, then we do.
Right, right. If it's
I think
3 of
that's
us,
a really
that's
fair way to go.
okay. We just don't
Yeah.
use the word unqualified,
So
not
if we just
recommended.
say-
Exactly.
If we just say that any commissioner may nominate an eliminated person back into the
There
process.
you go. There you go.
Okay.
This makes sense.
Okay.
May I make
I like
a
that.
suggestion?
I'll agree to that. Yeah.
Okay.
May I make a suggestion?
Yes,
That be modified to say a qualified but eliminated.
thank you. Yes.
There you go.
And then if a majority
good.
agrees that,
Yeah.
agrees that we go back in, okay?
Okay. So any commissioner could nominate a qualified but eliminated applicant, and then we would take a vote on it. If 3 of us or more agree, that person gets added to the mix.
Correct.
I think that's a good idea.
So then what is the purpose, of the committee? If the committee doesn't pick that individual, I'm confused, because if the committee doesn't pick that individual at all to be, not one single vote, then what you're saying, and again, I'm trying to understand what you're saying, Commissioner Kennedy, is that we can then decide, if you decide you want to bring that person in, that's from the ones from the list, and then we get a majority, we can override whatever recommendations the committee was making and the city.
We're not overriding it. We're adding to it. We're not overriding, we're adding to it. And by the way, going back to what you said if not one single person, remember the committee is going to vote on things. So the committee is going to select these people by majority, just same way we vote. So they could have an applicant who did not get through a committee, but was 1 vote short of being put through. And that person is someone that we find to be highly attractive. We need to have, and Dan, remember, the only people who are responsible for hiring this position, filling this position, are the 5 sitting commissioners, and maybe the 5 of us, and maybe 5 other people. All we're saying is we're not removing anybody that they put through. We're just possibly adding to it if the majority of us agree to do that. It's a win situation. There's no lose here for anybody.
Probability is it won't happen, but in case there's somebody.
Okay, so then you need to take out. Then you need to take out how many people are going to come in front of the committee, the applications. If you take out, if we say 5 finalists, then you can't have a 6th person in there. If you're going to take out your idea, please don't interrupt me. I'm trying to finish my thought. I'm having a hard time with this mic system here, so I apologize. What you're saying is if we say that the commission has 5 finalists, okay? But then we find another person that the board thought was close to it, then you're saying we can invite, and it's going to be 6 people to choose from. I just want to be sure I understand the amount of people that is going to be the finalists. That's going to be brought in front of the commission, the amount, the number.
May I?
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Dan, the resident panel will select as many as 10. We may only get 2 applicants, right? So we don't know a number yet. The resident committee will put through no more than 10. The professional panel will put through no more than 5. There may very well be overlap there. It doesn't mean we're getting 15 candidates. We might get 10, we might get 11, we might get 2. We're going to get whatever we get. All we're simply saying is, my suggestion is that someone else could be added to it if the majority of us believe that they're a strong enough candidate that we should consider them during the interview selection process.
Okay, so then you're going to
have 10 people. There is no set number, Dan.
Okay, so I'm just saying, you're going to have 10 people come in front of the commission. When are you going to get it down to the finalists? There's a final. We never have had where we're going to select from 10 people on this commission. We have never done that. I mean, I've been following this since 12 years, and they always had a final 3 or final 4 or final 5, whatever the amount the commission does. You're saying it's going to be open.
It's in there.
Wherever. I want to be sure I understand this.
No.
Okay.
If
What's
I may
the 9th that's going to be the finals?
If I may
Can you clarify this?
if I could try, I'll try. So Dan, between the two panels, they're gonna have at most 15, but that's not likely because there will be overlap as both selection processes move forward. So at most, I think there'll be 15, but those 15 will come to the commission and we will individually review them. The commission will individually review them and narrow it down. And we could talk about it deeper into the process. We can talk about it when we meet in August. And we have several meetings in August because we have the budget and all that going on. So out of those that are recommended to commission, then that could be further narrowed down to a short list of, say, 5, including anybody that a majority decided to bring back to have another look at if they were eliminated. Then we go down to the 5, and we could extend invitations. I would make it a shorter list, and really this is just an academic discussion because we may not have 5 or 3 in the end, but ultimately, when you're going to interview people, we should have it narrowed to a list of 3 people. And that's part of the process way down the road. We're not even, we're not there. We haven't settled that yet. So
We're nowhere near there.
It sounds like to me that this commission is deciding what the rules are going to be for picking a city manager.
Yeah, that's our job.
Yes, we are. That's exactly what we are doing, Dan. It's our job.
No, I don't need, please, Commissioner Kennedy, I don't need your sarcastic remarks, please. I said in the beginning, let's follow your please, okay? We haven't decided, and as I said before, because if we're going to go through this process, my answer is going to be, the vote's going to be no. I don't want this commission picking the city manager. I want it to be the November 2nd. I mean, the commission that comes in. If we're going to have a process that sets it up for the commission, that's fine. But the final decision is going to be made. That's what my vote is going to be. For the final decision for the city manager is going to be made by the incoming commission. Because if that
May I ask you a question about that opinion, Dan?
Huh?
May I ask you a question? May I ask you a question about that comment?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Commissioner
Of
Kennedy.
the 3 commissioners whose seats will become vacant in November and up for re-election, which one do you not have the confidence in to do the job if the job happens, which we're not even sure it's going to happen before then?
Because
you have some kind of a real problem with the possibility that the 5 of us would actually be required to do our charter mandated job. I'm trying to understand what your problem is with 5 elected commissioners doing their job.
My problem is that we have 3 seats coming up in November. With Commissioner Tudor, Commissioner Kennedy, and Commissioner Ross. Suppose all 3 of those individuals do not get in. Then the new commissioner has to decide. It's a new commission. I remember in the past, and I wasn't going to bring it, I remember the past when we had the magistrate, and everybody was saying it was wrong for what the last commission does, that the next commission should be able to understand the magistrate. And I remember a couple commissioners making that comment, that the next commission should decide what goes on. Now, all of a sudden, we're changing the rules because we're on the commission. I strongly, and again, I can be voted down. I'm just letting you know, my vote is that I am not going to vote for this commission to be picking the commission. And it sounds like that's exactly what's happening here, because the panel, if we pick the panel, the list that comes through, if you're saying the 10 residents go to the next commission to decide, then I'm okay with that. If you're saying that it comes in front of us and then we get it down to 5, that might not be the 5 people that the next commission decides to come in. Because what's stopping the next commission from saying, I don't like this city manager, sorry, I don't want him, fire him. There's nothing.
And if you'll recall, that just happened. The manager serves at the pleasure of the commission. And when you referenced the magistrate conversation last year, Dan, when that was taking place, how many commissioners were on the commission?
Well, we had 4, but we lost all of them, didn't we? We lost 3 of them.
No, you had 3. You only had 3 commissioners. You only had a quorum. You had 3 commissioners making that decision. So it really is not. I'm talking, it really is not apples to apples. You sat on a commission of 3 commissioners. You had barely a quorum to function. Okay, so that's my one point. The second point is that the manager serves at the pleasure of the commission. It could, any day, any meeting, the commission can come in and say, he's fired, she's fired. We did it. So it can happen anyway. And you can have an election in November and have 3 commissioners quit in January. It just happened. So all of these scenarios are possible. It doesn't mean you don't do the job at hand today.
Not only
This
that, not
by
only
the
that,
next,
I'm gonna jump
by the
in.
next, by the next election, you're not going to have quorum. You don't have quorum. You're going to have quorum from now into November because you got 3 people coming up. It's different. Before we had 3 commissioners that were on it and it was only 2 seats up. That's still quorum. You're not having quorum right now when the election comes. You're going to be 3 seats are up.
We always have a quorum
Dan, can I comment?
available, possible.
If I could try to put something in here. The magistrate issue was decided when the commission only had 3 people and the vote was 2 to 1. You voted against the magistrate.
Right.
And everyone from the community who got up to speak on that issue said, please don't do this thing. Every public comment said, you shouldn't do this thing. And 2 commissioners effectively changed the law for the village. So
That is
not the
ridiculous.
same. That is not the same thing as what we're talking about today. Today, we actually have a bunch of people who are asking the commission, move forward with this process, get us some stability. We don't want to be in this limbo state anymore. Make sure you pick a qualified person. And so that it is our obligation to move forward.
Okay.
But that's not even.
Okay, can Commissioner Tudor?
That's not even the question that we're asking right now. Right now, the question is more narrow. We're breaking it apart and trying to move in baby steps.
Okay,
Commissioner Tudor hasn't had a chance.
I know, but I'm just going to make a motion right now, and then you can vote on.
Can we hear from Commissioner Tudor first, Commissioner
Yes,
Smith?
and then I'll make a motion.
Yeah, just real quick. Some of the comments made by residents when the commission, which we had a quorum, so we were conducting village business. That's how it works. It was nothing illegal, as one of my colleagues are incorrectly stating, but a lot of the comments from the residents at that time was, this is an important matter that, and actually Commissioner Samaria made this point as well at the time. This is an important matter that, you know, the new commissioners coming on, the new commission, they should be the one to decide this is so important. You know, this commission should not be doing that. You have new members coming on shortly. And actually, my fellow commissioners who are here now were residents at the time who made those same comments. I just think it's a little disingenuous that, you know, they're attacking, some people are attacking Commissioner Samaria for his consistent stance that these important matters should be handled by the incoming commission. You know, I going back to what the original issue was about, I think if we're going to utilize a resident committee and the managers committee to rank the candidates and to give us their recommendations or their top 10 or top 5, whatever it's going to be, I think the commission should either, if we're going to trust these groups to provide this number, let's stick with those numbers that they provide and let's look at those candidates and those candidates only. If we're going to say, but they're going to miss somebody, there's always that possibility, this possibility, then don't use either committee. Just have the applications, have the interim village manager staff determine if they're qualified, and just go straight to the commission with those with all those applications.
Okay, Commissioner
Madam Mayor,
Smith.
yes, I just like to make a motion, then you can vote it down and just get it done. I like to make a motion to have the.
I think you're frozen again. Move away back from that computer, Dan. See if that helps. He's okay. Well, we're straightening out.
Maybe he shouldn't be at Village Hall.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I froze again.
Oh, he's at the log cabin.
Yeah,
To block Kevin.
Okay, I like to make a motion that the new commission decides on who the new city manager is. I'm okay with the process going forward, but the final group of people gets selected by the new commission.
I'll second that.
Oh, my
Roll
Lord.
call, man.
What, Roseanne?
Do I get to make a comment?
Sure.
May I? Okay. And I just want some clarification from Will, because I heard him say two things. I want to make sure I understood. He suggested that a commissioner said that something was done illegally. I didn't understand what that was, Will. Who did you say something was illegal? What was that? You said that a commissioner said something was illegal. Who said it, and what was it in reference to?
Hang on. That was, Commissioner Ross had mentioned how the two commissioners had changed the laws, or, you know, maybe she wants to clarify her statement. I mean, as far as I know, the votes were all fine.
If I could.
Okay, I'll let her respond to that, but I have another question then. Go ahead, Rox.
Commissioner Ross.
Yeah, really, this conversation is going very, very far afield from the topic at hand. But Commissioner Tudor, the vote was 2-1 to enact that ordinance. And therefore, on the strength of 2 yes votes, 2 commissioners, the law was changed. I did not comment or opine whether it was legal or illegal. Obviously, it was approved and it became part of the code. So there you go.
Okay, I just wanted to thank you. I wanted to clarify that because I didn't hear anyone say something was illegal, and I didn't want that just to sort of fly by and be part of public record and not be questioned. Will, the other question I have for you is, you characterized that someone is attacking another commissioner. I think you're referencing our conversations with Dan. He's clearly confused on some procedural things here, and I think we're trying to answer his questions and help him understand. So I have not seen anything in this meeting that comes remotely close to being an attack on anybody. So I'm not sure why you would choose your words like that.
I choose my words like that because you have, well, Commissioner Samari was making comments. You decided to chuckle sarcastically and make little snide comments. And I consider that to be inappropriate and to be attacking another commissioner while he's trying to make comments. So we can go ahead and move forward.
Okay, let's
He
continue.
misstated something.
Okay.
What he said was he doesn't think the commission should be making the hire.
Commissioner Kennedy,
okay,
can we please move forward? We don't need to hear
this.
this.
Yeah, well, look, things that we say here are on public record, and they need to be clarified because you accuse someone of suggesting something was illegal.
You attack all your other fellow commissioners on a regular basis. Give it a rest.
Actually, I'm not. I'm clarifying your comments, Will.
Point of order. Point of order. Madam
Go
Mayor,
ahead, Commissioner Samara.
Madam Mayor, there's a motion on the floor. Can we get to the motion, please?
Okay, you want to repeat that motion?
See if I can make a motion that the new commission selects the new manager from, if you want to make it to where the commission gives this commission gives a whole bunch of applicants that they can choose from. But my motion is that the new commission, and I've said that from day one, and I'm not going to change that, the new commissioner decides who the new city manager is.
I seconded that.
Mayor
So
Hoppy?
is it for discussion or no?
Okay, go ahead.
This particular motion.
There would be discussion.
Yes, for discussion. Go ahead.
Commissioner Tudor, go ahead.
I want to make sure we have to be moving forward with this process. So I think, and I just want to clarify this, we're going to be moving forward with process. We're going to get the applicants in. You know, I think what's going to end up happening is by the time we get through the committees, by the time we have, you know, public input on this, you know, it is going to be probably getting right around that late October time period. That could be a real possibility. So, you know, Commissioner Samaria brings up, you know, a valid point that we have to consider. How do we want to handle, because we are going to be in this transition period. So we do have to have a discussion. How is that going to be handled? Do we want to have the commission selecting, let's say, we get to the point and we've selected the top 5 candidates for interviews. Is that something, based on what time it is in the calendar, is that something that we're going to continue moving forward with, or is it something that the new commission should be conducting those interviews and going through that process? It's just an unusual time frame with
What's
this one.
stopping me from not being heard here? Just because she's got me muted?
You're not muted, Dan.
I hear you.
Okay, thank you. No, I'm glad somebody said they can hear me because I've been trying to get heard before. Okay, thank you.
Okay, is there any more discussion on the motion?
I'd like to say a few things.
Sure, Commissioner Ross.
Just going through and breaking down what the process entails, we could see that it is a lengthy process.
Mhm.
I think we should embark on it now, and that we shouldn't put a limitation on what we're doing. Commissioner Tudor seemed very firm in the last commission's ability to make decisions and to change laws, even though it was not a full panel of commissioners. And we are a full panel of commissioners, and we have a responsibility and an obligation to hire a manager. Our charter says there shall be a manager and a commission, not an interim manager, but a manager. And we all recognize that there are many things that need the attention of a professional that have gone unattended. Our remaining staff, works in a place of uncertainty. I think that we need to have stability. We need to bring it back. And if we shun this obligation, we're doing a disservice to this community. We don't know how long it's going to take, but we should move forward with it. We seem to have gained some consensus and agreement. All 5 of us, or 4-1, voted on certain aspects of the process. Let's just move forward and let's not limit ourselves. We are inviting the qualified candidates to be part of the process so that they can be part of the vetting of the person that they're going to work with. And not only will they be on the panel, but if we get to that point, I intend to get their input as well to inform my decision, if it becomes my decision. If it happens that it's so extended that it gets to the next commission, so be it. But let's not stop ourselves from moving forward, and then consider, who are we going to put in an interim position? I heard something suggested earlier in the meeting that is probably a very good way to get another staff person to quit, because it's too much burden to put on the remaining staff.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Can we take a vote?
I just want to make a final comment, because I want to make it official that I think we'll be, regardless of the timing, however it times out, let the process play out. How it plays out, it plays out. And whenever it's ready to go before the commission for a final selection, that commission has a duty. And if it's this commission, if it's the next commission, if it drags out for 2 more years and it's the commission after that, if we don't do it, I believe, in my opinion, we're negligent in our duties as commissioners. We were elected to do a job. This is among the biggest of those jobs. We need to do it when it's in front of us. And suggesting that one group might be better at it than another is just very strange to me.
Okay, can we call the question? Roseanne, you want to take a vote on Dan Samaria's motion?
Yes. Mayor Hoffman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kennedy?
No.
Commissioner Ross?
No.
Commissioner Samaria?
Yes.
Commissioner Tudor?
I'm going to have to say no. Let's just go through the process. It can always be brought up at a later time.
We have 3 yes and 2 no.
So the one question I think we still had remaining was, I'm not sure if we settled on bringing in that person, bringing that person back into the process. Scott's idea.
Say that again, Commissioner Ross?
I'm not sure that we took a vote on bringing that person if that near perfect person was eliminated by one of the committees, if you want to bring them back, I think Commissioner Samaria's motion sort of interceded.
Yeah,
Okay.
we never decided that, so we need to decide that. So I make a motion, Rox, if I may.
Go ahead.
I make a motion that in addition to the qualified candidates that are moved forward to the commission by the resident panel and the professional panel, that the commission shall be able to nominate and vote by majority approval any other qualified but eliminated candidate to become part of the group from which the commission shall make the final selection.
I'll second.
Okay.
Roll call.
Roseanne?
Okay.
Say-
Mayor Halpin,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kennedy,
Yes.
Commissioner Ross,
Yes.
Commissioner Samaria.
You have to
Commissioner
unmute.
Samaria, can you unmute yourself?
Yeah, I don't know why I keep on getting muted here. Yes.
Commissioner Tudor?
No.
Okay. 4 to 1.
I think that concludes the process for recruitment.
Yes.
Okay,
Now
but now
let's
we gotta
get to
get,
the interim manager.
so we haven't decided, Madam Mayor, so we haven't decided when the new manager is gonna be picked. Am I
That's
understanding
correct.
that? When is that gonna, okay, so when is that going to happen to where we figure that? So that means we're gonna have to wait until the whole process is over. If it happens in October, does that mean this commission picks the city manager? Or we would then have to bring it up and have it moved to November?
We're going through the process. We're going through the process. We do not know when it'll be finished.
Commissioner Samaria, your motion was to, the new commission selects the new manager, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And
That's
it went down. It went down. So,
I know,
It was
I know
voted
it
down.
went down, and I knew it was going to, but that's beside the point.
okay.
Well, I have another result here. I have Mayor Halpin, yes. Vice Mayor Kennedy, no. Commissioner Ross, yes.
No, Commissioner Ross
No.
was no.
Okay, sorry, that's why. Okay,
Okay. I knew you said the wrong amount, but it was turned down.
thank you for coming.
Okay, can we get on to interim manager now?
So the next memo refers to interim manager appointments and the parameters under which that would happen. My memo it says what it says. Other cities pick talent from within. Unfortunately, we have very limited staff.
I'm sorry, Rox, I can't hear you. There's someone talking in the background somewhere.
Oh, is it
It stopped now. Okay.
quiet now? Okay.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
So I think everyone would agree that our staff is pretty much taxed, maybe even overtaxed, with different hats and different roles that they're playing. We're already missing a manager. Now we're missing a public works director. The clerk is going to be entering into the candidate qualifying period. So she's got things going on. She also has advertisement for the budget that she's going to need to focus on. The chief is, of course, the incident commander also, and so he plays a major role in almost every decision that occurs now during this state of emergency in the pandemic. I have seen other cities tap into their finance people to bring them up to be in interim roles and interim capacities. And my recommendation would be to engage Paul Winklejohn and his firm Government Management Services to serve as the interim manager. And I don't know what his terms would be, although I did refer the conversation to him. Someone will, I suppose, the chief, or if Mr. Winklejohn is still with us, can describe what those terms might be. But I did note that there would be have to be a separation of roles with regard to the finances. as far as check signing, since Mr. Winklejohn's firm does all of our bank reconciliations and things of that nature. So my motion is to ask Mr. Winklejohn and General Management Services to serve as as our interim manager for a period of 30 days, say, which could be renewed as we move forward if it works out. If it becomes not a workable situation, we can look for another alternative. But Mr. Winklejohn already knows us, is familiar with us, with not only the electeds, but with staff, and is an integral part of the village, as opposed to bringing someone from the outside that has no information or no relationship with us. So my motion, I'm sorry to drag it out that way, but my motion would be to ask Mr. Winklejohn and GMS to serve as our interim manager on 30-day period, for a 30-day period to be rolled forward as needed.
I'll second that for discussion, please.
Okay. Mr. Herron, do you think that's a conflict?
No, ma'am.
You don't think that's a conflict since he does our financials to appoint him as an interim manager?
No, I'm not quite sure how, but if you want, I don't, at this point, I don't see it as a conflict, but I will confirm with the Miami-Dade Commission on Ethics.
Okay, is there any other comments on this motion?
Yeah, I have a couple of things. May I?
Go ahead, Commissioner Tudor. Oh, Commissioner
Okay.
Kennedy, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead. Okay. Will, do you want to go first?
No, go ahead, Commissioner.
John, I have a question regarding the comment that you just made, that you'll check into it. In your experience as a municipal attorney, have you ever seen a community do this before?
Yes.
Have their finance people?
There are a number of companies and groups that I've seen that provide more than one service to municipalities, and those services have included serving as the manager and at the same time the finance department.
So is it fair to say that there would be companies that, outside of Paul's company, that there are companies that would do this as a matter of course, that would cover all of those responsibilities, management kind of responsibilities and finance responsibilities as part of the service they would provide a municipality as an outside vendor?
Yes.
Okay, fair enough. And I'm asking that because you said it and I just want to make sure I understand. Okay, a couple of questions that I have, and I'd like to hear the other commissioners discuss them. First of all, if we're going to offer Paul's firm a contract, I would like us to carefully select the term, the time frame of that contract, so that it would expire on the far side of a commission meeting. So if we needed to address it, to extend it, change our mind, whatever, we would have a commission meeting to do it. For example, if we gave him 30 days today, it would expire on August 16th. We have an August 4th meeting and a September something or other meeting. We'd have an agreement expiring in between, and we wouldn't necessarily have the ability to address it. So I would like us to, I don't think, unless John advises otherwise, I don't think we're required to pick increments of full months, like 30, 60, 90 days. We could say 28 days if we wanted to, whatever. So I would just caution us to not back ourselves into a situation like we are, and this is not a criticism, it's just kind of a comment, like the emergency declarations that are happening now, that the timing of them is awkward, so we never seem to get a chance to discuss them at a commission meeting, whether we think we should extend them or not. So I just think we need to be careful about that. So I would schedule the next one to expire, like, instead of 30 days, maybe 45 days or 50 days or whatever, so it falls on the far side of the September meeting, so we have an opportunity to address it before it might become a problem. That would be one thing. Well, before I go to the next one, I'll let you guys comment on that.
Any comments, Commissioner Royce?
So I think that that's a very smart idea. It's very, not that it is any criticism, but it's also a way to have transparency. We have an open discussion, and even
Yep.
with the emergency orders, we also at the same time we're advising people these are the rules we're living under. And if it's done sort of not at a commission meeting, then we lose that opportunity to communicate.
Are you changing your
I agree.
motion? Amending your motion? Commissioner Ross?
Sure, I would amend the motion to be not necessarily 30 days, but time periods that allow the opportunity for the commission to revisit. And there would have to be some kind of a letter agreement, so I leave it to the village attorney to come up with the exact language that would capture that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Rox, we have a meeting on September 1st because there was the discussion about changing it to pushing it later, but our September commission meeting is still Tuesday, September 1st. So you might just give the initial agreement an expiration date of, for example, Wednesday, September 9th, and that gives us the September meeting. And if we needed it, we have a budget hearing on September 8th as well if we needed to discuss something. Hopefully we wouldn't, but if you said September 10th, 9th or 10th, that would give us that opportunity to address it.
I agree, and I think that by that time we'll have had the number of resumes turned in, and we'll have a better idea of where the process for the manager selection is going. So that's an excellent thought is September 9th.
Are you seconding
Okay.
her amended motion now?
I'll second that, yes. Well, she hasn't made the motion yet. Roxy, if you want to make it.
We're still in a discussion mode, right?
Go ahead. We've got a motion and a second. You can discuss it. What do you want? Dan?
Okay. I do not feel that we should go outside to a vendor and pay management service, especially to the finance company that correctly oversees our budget and finance. This company or individual has never, to my knowledge, managed a municipality. Okay, I'm trying to do this.
Okay, any other
I
comment?
feel that it's, wait a minute, I'm not finished with my comment. I feel that it is an ethic conflict to have the finance can do management service. It's like having a fox watch over the chicken hen. I agree we should advertise for a permanent manager immediately. I feel the correct opinion is to have the clerk be the interim manager, have the chief assist us since he has been manager before until we select a new manager. This would address the concerns that we would be having a temporary appointment, and that would save the village money until we can fix our financial situations. And if we decide, I also want that the interim manager should not be allowed to hire or fire employees. Not only did we lose a good interim manager, we lost a public works manager. We should leave John Jenkins and Cesar Hernandez as acting supervisors, as they did a good job before we hired David Hernandez as public works. We also have important matters that are coming up in the next 6 months that I am worried about, that a new interim manager doesn't know about our what's going on in this village in reference to the CIT, which I have a major concern going on with that, FEMA, the budget, the matching tree fund, the hurricane season, and so on.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Tudor, do you have any comments before we vote?
Yeah, I would like to get some, because I know one of the, I guess, person that most people would think that would probably fall in line to assist in this matter would be the village clerk or the chief of police, possibly. I just want to hear from the attorney. With the village clerk, there wouldn't be any issues with her filling in that role. But would there be any issues or concerns with the chief filling in the role as an interim manager?
There wouldn't be an issue with the clerk, since the clerk is not in fact listed as a charter officer, either in our charter or in state law. However, police chief is in fact deemed to be an office holder, and therefore the chief would have a dual office holding issue. And that in order for him to be appointed as the interim manager, he would have to first resign as chief. And I've had this conversation with the chief, and I don't believe, certainly he can jump in here if he changes his mind, but he doesn't want to do that at this point in time because there's no guarantee, and there's really no way to guarantee that he would in fact be reappointed as the chief. I don't know about you all, but I'm getting a tremendous amount of feedback.
Okay.
I don't know if we can mute the clerk, if you can mute someone.
Better now?
So anyway, let me finish my thought. So certainly the chief can chime in. He certainly can assist whoever is you all decide to appoint in his capacity as the chief of police and as the incident commander under the current declaration of emergency for the COVID-19 emergency. Last but not least, I'd like to maybe explain myself as to why I don't believe that there's a conflict for Mr. Winklejohn or any other company that would be in his company's position to serve in the interim basis. There is money budgeted already for the manager's position. Presumptively, to the extent that if this commission as a majority were to direct me and administration to enter into an agreement with Mr. Winklejohn's company to expand his scope of services, then the money that he would be paid for those additional services would be coming from an already budgeted amount. So he's not giving himself additional money that's not already budgeted and approved by you all for that purpose. And to the extent that you want, then you also would dictate to me and indirectly to Mr. Winklejohn, what is the amount of money that you're willing to pay him for those additional services? So it would be in fact approved by this commission, and the funds are already budgeted and allocated for those purposes, and therefore he's not, as with all due respect, Commissioner Samaria characterizes as the fox guarding the hen house. He's doing his job, which you are directing him to do within the confines of the already approved budget.
Okay, can we call?
Real quick, I'd also be,
motion?
I'm sorry, real quick, I'd like to hear from
I have-
staff as well to see. I'd like to hear from the clerk, get some input from her, from the chief as well.
Okay, Chief Camara.
I'll defer to the clerk. Go ahead, clerk.
No, Chief, you can start, please.
Go ahead, Chief.
Okay, so let me just comment on what Attorney Herron discussed. First and foremost, there is a dual office provision that would not allow me to hold the interim manager position. I've been very candid about that. I've been open and transparent. The only discussion with the Commission on Ethics and discussions with Mr. Jose Arrojo, the position that has been taken is I am currently the emergency incident commander for the village, which that role is under the camp agreement. And it's been expanded and authorized by the manager when he named me at that point. Actually, it's been two managers have done it. The emergency incident commander. If I could remain as the emergency incident commander and assist anybody you want that occupies a position, I can assist the clerk if that's what you choose in this capacity, or emergency incident commander, you could expand my duties and responsibilities and say, we would like you to adhere or be able to add on to your duties and responsibilities, and we're going to give you further responsibilities. So either way, that's what the discussion occurred when I had the conversation with the Ethics Commission.
Okay, is there any other discussion on that motion before we vote?
Well, we'll ask to hear from the staff, and Roseanne has not had an opportunity to speak yet, and then I have some comments as well before we vote.
Yes, my comment is that I'm ready to exercise my role of interim village manager. I've been working really closely with the former interim village manager, and I work with Chief all the time. And I believe he I need him to work with me and, closely like we always do. And we can transition to that position to the hiring of the new permanent village manager.
Okay, any other discussion before, what did you want to say, Commissioner Kennedy?
I do. So first of all, I just want to make sure I understand a couple of things here so I know how the dots connect here. So the chief is our emergency incident commander. I probably got that wrong, but he's in charge of while we're in a state of emergency. Roseanne, what is the current expiration date of our state of emergency?
It's August 4th.
Okay, August 4th. So if we do not extend the emergency beyond August 4th, I thought it was a different date, but okay. If we do not extend the emergency declaration again, or if Ginny doesn't rather, then the chief's additional powers as the incident commander, those powers expire, is that correct?
Yes, if the declaration of emergency is not extended.
Okay. Okay, so as long as there is a declaration of emergency, and my guess is that Ginny will be extending that. So as long as there is a declaration of emergency, we have this incident commander. It is our police chief, and that gives him additional authority. And this is where I'm going to ask John Herron to step in and make sure I'm understanding this. So while we're in a state of emergency, whenever that does expire, a question before my question, John. Does Ginny have the authority to end a declaration of emergency if she thought it was not necessary to have anymore, or is the declaration required to run its course through its expiration date?
No, the declaration can be repealed. However, I want to make a correction.
So she can repeal. Okay.
The CMP, the Comprehensive Emergency Management Plan that this village has adopted, I think was back in 2006. It automatically gets triggered when either the state or the county declares an emergency. And so to the extent that the county has declared an emergency, the CMP is self-executing because this community decided to follow that provision of the emergency statute to adopt a CMP. And under the state statute, the CMP gets triggered when the county invokes a declaration of emergency. So as long as Miami-Dade County has a declaration of emergency in place, the CMP would be in effect. Yes, you can direct, let me finish. You can direct staff to amend and update the CMP to give anyone, but certainly the chief as the emergency incident commander, and I apologize, I know I'm probably not using the right terminology, but the inevitable conclusion that we all have to reach here is that you still don't have an interim manager.
Right. Okay. So thank you for that explanation. So while we're under a local state of emergency or a county state of emergency, we have this incident commander, and when that expires, the chief no longer has those additional responsibilities and powers.
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you for that explanation. I did not understand that. So here is my question then to I'm not sure to whom I'm directing this. Probably you, John. You might want to open up your camera again, or not if you don't want to, I don't care. While we're in this state of emergency and the chief has these additional responsibilities and powers, who has the ability to assign other specific tasks to him? For example, here's where I'm leading with this. If we went with, if we appointed Roseanne as our interim manager, or we appointed Paul's firm to fill in in that capacity, it sounds like we can't name the chief the interim manager, but we could let him sort of have that authority. Who can assign additional things to him, like, chief, in your power, in your authority as the emergency incident commander, we are in a very critical time here regarding our solid waste. I'll use that as an example. We need you to step in and handle that for us because we don't think that it's a reasonable thing to expect that Paul's firm or Roseanne, in addition to all the other things they do, will be able to tackle that. And that is of such an urgent nature that it has to be spearheaded by someone who can focus on it. Can the commission direct the chief in his capacity as incident commander, or could the person who's filling in as the interim manager give him that authority? Here's my concern. I don't think we're going to get all this done. And I take that back. I know we're not going to get all of this done. And there are some things that are so pressing that I'd like to be able to sort of divide and conquer. And if someone has the ability to assign a specific responsibility to someone and sort of parcel out these tasks, I think we need to do that. Who has that authority? Would it be the interim manager or would it be the commission?
Technically both, but technically with regard to the commission's authority in the context of the CMP, that's been adopted by resolution. So to the extent that you want to expand the powers vested to staff, including the chief under the CMP, it would have to be modified. You certainly can direct that to be done, and we can bring it to you at the next meeting. And in the meantime, you can approve it retroactively. And then alternatively, or in addition to, as provided for in the CMP and certainly under the charter, the interim manager can work with the chief to direct him to assist him or her or it, however that individual or entity feels they need the chief's assistance to get things done. And to the extent that the chief.
Okay, so there is some flexibility. So there is, okay, that's a very interesting concept to me, because whatever we do here, I think the commission needs to have a very serious discussion about all the matters that are before us. CITT, Waste Pro, certainly among them. We have this FDOT thing next week, which is really just a workshop. We don't have a responsibility to make a decision on that next week. We will eventually. But some of these more pressing things, I think we better have a very serious conversation about who we're going to put, who we're going to make accountable for these things, because they can't fail. We can't fail on these things. Failure is not an option on the solid waste issue right now. Failure is also not an option on the CITT. So I'm not sure who wants to lead that conversation, but I think that needs to be part of what we decide here. The other thing I want to ask, I'm going to ask Roseanne a very direct question. Roseanne, I know you answered very clearly that you have the authority to do this and you have some training and you've been working alongside the chief and David in his former roles. I thought I heard you say, I can do this for you guys if you ask me to. Roseanne, do you really think that given your I'm sorry, go ahead.
Together with the Chief Cabrera.
Okay. Do you really truly believe that you can pull all this off, given all the other pressing matters that are going on, including the budget, the upcoming election that you have some very significant responsibilities for, because you do take on, if I believe, an additional role with the county at election time in your position as clerk. So you have your regular job, you would have some additional responsibilities, you would have some very large tasks that would be challenging for any manager at any time. Plus you have your additional role as the election, you're not called the election supervisor, but you're called the election something.
It's election supervisor.
Election supervisor. Roseanne, do you think you can really do all of this for us? Because the last thing, and this is my opinion, that this village needs is to overburden another staff member with multiple hats and have a person fail again and have the village be failed again in the process. Roseanne, can you really do this?
In a fair work environment with the collaboration of Chief Cabrera? Yes, absolutely.
Okay,
fair
Chief
enough.
Cabrera would like to speak.
Okay.
Mac, if
Chief Cabrera.
Vice Mayor, if you can allow me to answer some of the questions, and I need to clarify a point. I want to make sure there's there's complete transparency. When I spoke to the Commission on Ethics, they said that it could be done through the questions you were asking about additional duties, Vice Mayor, it could be done through a resolution if that's what the Commission chooses to add on the additional duties and so on and so on. I am not advocating for anything. I'm only providing the explanation that was given to me by the Ethics Commission, because I was asked, to kind of inquire about this. So there's options on the table. I wanted to ask John really quick, so everybody has an understanding and this can, you know, a decision can be made. Can you explain really quick what my role is under Kemp right now as the emergency incident commander?
Well, I mean, you have, if the commission allows me through the mayor, the answer to that question is the very broad powers as it relates to the declared emergency. And you know, we've had the commission, and to some degree or others, had these conversations in the past when the COVID-19 situation first arose. And I agree with the chief. You can do that. And as he said, I agree that the mechanism to do that and to task him with those additional responsibilities would be through an amendment, you know, resolution amending the CMP to give him those additional authorities. You know, have employees, non-police department employees answer to him or to assist with those types of activities or those operational aspects. But otherwise, the CMP does give him a lot of broad powers already to do some of the things that might be deemed, or I would consider, and many would consider to be operational aspects of the village.
Okay,
Okay, so if I
just to clarify,
I want to make sure I understand what I just heard John say. Go ahead, Dan.
Just to clarify something really quick, you know, obviously everybody here knows that I've filled the role of a manager before, an assistant city manager and so on. I would assist, whether it's Paul or Roseanne, you know, with my institutional knowledge in these roles. So whoever be it, whether you decide, let's stick with the chief, Roseanne or Paul, I am probably the person here that has filled that role for a significant amount of time. Not only here, but in my other
So I want to make sure I understood thank you, Chief. I want to make sure I understood what John, I understood what John said. So John, in essence, what you're saying is we don't even have to necessarily name an interim manager because we happen to be in a state of emergency. Right. We have our police chief filling an emergency role right now, where we could say we won't hire we won't name an interim manager. We'll just give him those authorities, that authority, because we're in a state of emergency, and not having a manager now is part of that emergency that he's going to fill for us, and we could then change our mind on that anytime we want to.
Yes, and to a degree, no. And the reason I say no is because the charter says that you all communicate through the manager with staff, and there's no manager.
Right.
That's my concern. And I'm not saying I'm going to be absolutely clear here. I'm not suggesting anyone is not going to cooperate and do everything that needs to be done. I've already expressed to staff and to the chief, we're in this together, and we'll get through this together. But the charter does provide for someone to be answerable to the commission.
But John,
so there's kind of that little detail would be the hiccup in that option, is that we wouldn't have a manager.
John, if a resolution is passed and the resolution is clear, they're not bypassing a manager, because at the end of the day, the emergency incident commander has to be responsive to all the commissioners and occurring. If it's in the resolution, then it's crystal clear, it's transparent.
If I may, thank you, Mayor, on this particular issue. So Chief Cabrera, you were talking about amending the Kemp so that the powers of the incident commander are expanded to include whatever it is that we're requiring, whatever it is that the need is in this particular situation. And that amendment of the Comprehensive Emergency Management Plan, for anyone who doesn't know what Kemp is, that amendment can be done by a resolution because the Kemp was approved by a resolution.
Correct.
So that part's fine, we're covered there, check. However, the charter, which is something that we cannot amend by a resolution or even by an ordinance, the charter says that there shall be a manager who shall be the chief administrative officer of the village, responsible to the commission for the administration of village affairs. If we don't appoint an interim person and we try to function as a municipality without a manager, we are not in compliance with the charter.
Commissioner,
Madam Mayor, can I make a comment?
I'm not advocating, I just want to make sure. I just put the information that was provided to me. I am not advocating, I'm informing. So I'm just informing you what the ethics said. I cannot be an interim manager. I could only operate within my realm as an emergency incident manager. That's it.
Right. I get you, but I think that their opinion is couched within the parameters of the Kemp and the resolution that approved the Kemp. And the other part is outside of that. So we would be okay with them, with the Commission on Ethics, and the Kemp could be adhered to with an amendment resolution, but the charter is a different requirement.
Mayor, Commissioner.
Okay, Commissioner Samaria?
Yes, thank you. Point of order. Commissioner Ross, and I'm coming to you because I think you're the only one that has been around when, and I hope I don't pronounce our last clerk, Maria. Yeah, Camara. I always pronounce it right. She did interim manager and interim manager and clerk at the same time, and it was close to an election and everything. I was trying to ask Commissioner Kennedy's question whether or not she could handle it, and I think she can handle it because we had a.
She already answered that, Dan. She already answered that. Can we move the motion, please?
Okay.
We have a motion.
This is your motion.
We have a motion for me.
We have a motion with the second, and I would like to, as the sponsor, make the closing for it if there's no other comments.
May I make one comment, Rox? Because I don't want to interrupt your closing remarks on this. I really need a full understanding of this, because it sounds like if we vote to approve yours, I understand that we've solved the issue. But if we don't, then we're going to look at other options. But it looks like our options would be, I want to understand looking forward when I place my vote, it would be Paul's firm or Roseanne or
I'll make the motion for Roseanne.
Well, we have one motion on the floor already. Right. I just want to understand what's coming up. So I just want to know what our options are before us. So those would be our three options. Okay.
No, there's another option. I'll make sure I got it. No, Madam Mayor, there's another option. My other option is that we look at the Florida lead. If we're not going to do any of the other two options that are on the table, that we need to focus and go out to the Florida City and County Management Association and see if they seem to have anybody else.
Let's vote on this motion first, and then we'll vote on the second motion if this one goes down.
Okay.
Mr. Ross, it's your motion.
So just to come back to a point that was being made about the Kemp and the charter, the comprehensive plan also calls for there to be a city manager or a municipal manager as the chief executive. And I don't know how we get away from, I don't know how we could meet that requirement if we don't appoint an interim manager. Paul Winklejohn is taking the time out of his day to spend the last 3 hours with us, and I just would like to hear from him what that arrangement could look like, or any other comments he wants to make.
I don't know if that's proper with a motion already on the floor. Mr. Howard?
And I'm going to make my closing.
I think it is.
I'm sorry, was there a question?
Yes, there's a question. Is that proper?
Generally, you know, there wouldn't be unless there's a motion to suspend the rules to allow that.
Sorry, we haven't called the vote. We're still having discussion about it, and I'm going to do a closing argument. It just seemed like a courtesy. The man's been sitting here for 3 hours listening to us, so if you don't want to do it, then
and we did just ask basically a question like that of Roseanne and the chief separately, and the motion actually pertains to Paul. So it seems to me that maybe Rox should be able to ask Paul to address whatever she wants him to address. I'd like to hear it.
Wants to make a motion to suspend the rules, we'll take a vote on it.
Why would we be suspending the rules, John?
Because generally you're in discussion, and the discussion is limited to staff, to the commission, and to the extent that you all have questions of staff, would be staff. If you're asking for provide Mr. Winklejohn an opportunity to speak, which I'm not saying is not a bad.
Okay, John, I'm sorry, John, your voice went down.
Sorry.
Were you done? Were you finished?
Yes, I'm sorry. My phone was ringing. I didn't know if you heard it, so I apologize.
So we asked the question of the village clerk whether she would be willing or could take on the added responsibilities. Why would it be inappropriate to ask the question of the finance director?
Technically, Mr. Winklejohn is part, and his company are technically part of staff as the finance department. So,
right, because we're
entertaining
Rox's motion.
Yes, it's okay. Yes, it would be okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's no need to suspend the rules then.
That's correct.
And, well, Paul, you've listened to the discussion. If there's anything you want to add that would help us close this issue, I'd appreciate it.
Thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate being considered as far as my firm and my position as your finance director. My loyalty as a service provider to you is to find the best thing that can get you through the door and get you to hiring the right manager for you. I don't know if you know, but I've been an executive municipal manager for nearly 30 years. So some of the comments about not being qualified or not having the experience in the room, et cetera, like that, were just not understood correctly. My firm does provide the executive management role to almost all of our clients. Only a few of our clients do we only provide financial services. Historically, with you all, we've provided, as a courtesy, quite a bit of general management and personnel and insurance risk management advice to your prior managers who had no experience whatsoever as city managers. So we're in that role as a courtesy regardless. Whatever you choose to do, I think it's built in that your clerk is the interim manager until you appoint one. I believe those roles fall to her right away as the second in command, if you will. So that makes sense if possible. However, I wrote down the projects that are in front of you. You have to hire a new manager. That sounded like a full-time job. In fact, if you were to hire a firm to conduct that search, it would be a full-time role for one person in that firm and probably run you between $20,000 and $30,000. You have a solid waste bid that you expect back in August, which is not going to happen by any stretch of the imagination because I don't think the bid's been written or publicized. That is a full-time job if you want it done in a 60-day period. And I would caution that if you don't hand that solid waste bid to a professional who's done solid waste before, the foam coming out of the mouths of the solid waste companies will be extraordinary because they will find a mistake in that bid and you will pay for it as a community. There is no doubt. I was a franchise holder for over a decade, as well as a manager of solid waste for over many decades. So I've seen that quite personally. And I don't want to do your solid waste bid either. I think you should hire an outside professional. The CITT audit, we spent about an hour this morning with the auditor. The auditor is not able to do that paperwork and that presentation and that forensic accounting for you. You've authorized either GMS or your accountant to do that to a ceiling of $5,000, and I'm happy to do that. I found a forensic auditor within my company who is actually starting to do this type of work for us in South Florida, and I'm able to do that and probably hit your timeline. And fortunately, I don't want to put a number on it, but a significant amount of the legwork was done by the Ross family. Your FDOT project, the missing element of a manager who has public works and engineering experience is a nightmare for you because you're going to have 5 different opinions, but I don't think any of our board members have done civil construction before at the extent. Personally, my firm and I do millions of dollars a year of oversight of those types of projects. Then lastly, you also have an election year coming up. So in quick summary, you have more projects on you than you had staff before Monday, and you don't have the staff in the future to actually do those on a professional level. What you're going to get is a best effort from a lot of people who are well meant, but the product is going to frustrate you, which is what I've seen the last 3.5 years or so. I've listened to these commissions. You're frustrated because when the chief of police gives a police presentation, it's fantastic because it's perfect. He's a professional and his staff are all professionals. When you've asked other reports, they've been moderately polished. I'll put it that way. The last thing is I'm happy to do whatever you want. If I were applying today for a city manager job, the least amount of money I would consider would be close to $200,000 to $300,000, right around $250,000. That would not be enough to get me to leave my current job, by the way. It would take about 3 or 5 if anybody's willing to offer. But the point is, you're only budgeted for about $100,000 plus benefits. Even with a full-time manager, you really can't handle the amount of things that are on your plate at a professional level. You have 3 vacancies. You do not have 2. You have a vacant manager, you have a public works manager, and the administrative assistant from the general office is missing. Who's going to do the work? So you have many, many problems. The interim manager, solve it any way you want. I don't have any interest in being a full-time manager, even though I'd love to help. I'll chip in anywhere I can. My firm would fill a part-time role, which would tap the clerk, tap the chief, but we would still not be able to accomplish this task to a professional level, in my estimation. My firm would charge about $250,000 for a full-time management. If you're suggesting part-time, which would be the most I could accept, would be at the budget amount of $2,000 a week. And that gives you a sense of the budget. And that would not exceed your current allocation. Thank you. Okay,
can we call the motion now?
If I may close the item, since I was the sponsor of it, I can almost sense where this is going, and I'm going to caution everyone to really consider this very seriously. I appreciate the clerk's willingness to step in and take on further obligations and further responsibilities, but think about the product that we've been receiving lately from our administration, and that's when we had other personnel on hand to help carry us through these things. We were understaffed when we were at full staff capacity, and to expect less people to do and take on more things, and they're quite serious things. They're really things that need a level of professionalism to even attempt to tackle. That's a recipe for disaster. Maria Camara, God bless her, was an amazing clerk and person, and we're personal friends too, so full disclosure. She had the ability to do some things, but many things fell through the cracks. Many things didn't get accomplished. We had some real shortcomings on our financial disclosures and our financial filings with the state, and things that were not filed with CITT. I'm not pointing fingers or laying blame anywhere, but you cannot overtax people and expect to have a professional operation. There are going to be mistakes. And we've made so many mistakes already, we can't afford to make any more. Can we please have a professional interim manager to see us through until we're able to select someone to do the job full time? It's only fair to our staff to make sure that we do it, and it's fair to our residents and our taxpayers to make sure that we're not squandering their money by letting things and mistakes happen.
Can we move the motion now?
Yes, let's vote on the motion, please.
Roseanne, do you want to do a roll call on her motion?
So the motion on the floor,
I'm sorry?
the motion on the floor is to ask Paul Winklejohn for
for interim manager.
Yes. Mayor Halpin?
No.
Vice Mayor Kennedy?
Yes.
Commissioner Ross?
Yes.
Commissioner Samaria?
No.
Commissioner Tudor?
I'm just thinking about, I'd hate to see Paul and his firm get run out of town, but yeah, I'll vote yes to have GMS handle this matter.
We have 3 yes, 2 no. Motion passes.
Okay.
So, Mayor, if I may, I think the last piece on this is to direct the village attorney to work up some kind of letter agreement with Paul and his firm to formalize the relationship.
That's okay, John?
Get working on it immediately.
Okay. Is that,
May I ask a question about this now that we've decided on that? May I ask a question about it, just so I'm clear?
yeah,
Back to my question a little while ago. Now we have Paul's firm acting as our interim manager. Does this commission still have the authority to assign some specific tasks to some specific people if Paul and his firm, Paul, tells us we can't get this all done for you, we're going to miss deadlines, or we feel like that's going to happen? If we're in a conversation with him about it, or we determine that we're falling short in some specific area, do we have the ability to take a task and say, okay, we want this person to handle this for us if we need to?
I have no idea.
If I may, Mayor and Commissioners, certainly I think that, as I understand it, effective today, subject to bringing back to you all an agreement that the parties agreed to, Mr. Winklejohn is, Roseanne, can you maybe mute some of a lot of feedback? All right, hopefully that's better. Mr. Winklejohn is your interim manager. We'll bring back to the commission the formal document approving that, retroactive to today's date or to tomorrow's date, and that you all would approve. And then, I'm sure that one of the things that Mr. Winklejohn has heard you all express, not only here today, but in some of the recent meetings, is making sure that administration keeps the commission updated on these important issues. And I'm certain, don't mean to speak for him, but I'm sure that at the next meeting, which is 2 weeks from now, he'll provide you with an update on those items, and you all will have an opportunity to direct him as the interim manager to, hey, can you have so-and-so, or do we need additional people to do the things that you just mentioned, Commissioner Kennedy?
Okay, so we actually have a meeting a week from today in the evening. It's our first budget workshop, and now Paul will officially be running that meeting. I think he may have been heavily involved in it before his new position anyway. But are we allowed to, in a budget workshop, have a conversation with Paul about sort of here's our to-do list, and have a conversation about prioritizing them, and formally ask him how we want him to report back to us? And look, at the risk of sounding like I want to micromanage Paul, we have some big pressing things, and I just want to make sure that, number one, he's aware of what they all are. I think he is, and that he hears us speak as a body about how we prioritize these things. And so we're all in full agreement of what's on the list, what deadlines we're facing. There are some things that haven't come up today, like there's a tree grant that I'm a little starting to get concerned we may lose that if something doesn't get done properly and on time. So next week at our budget workshop, are we allowed to have that kind of a conversation with Paul during a workshop?
You can have
or do we
that.
have to call a special meeting before it to have that conversation?
Don't we have a special meeting to set the trim anyway on the 23rd?
So
that's the first step.
In either situation, you all have the ability to have those communications. The distinction is that at a workshop, it is only a communication. You cannot direct him to take. You can't vote to direct him to take certain actions at that point in time, but certainly you can communicate with him. And if any during my short tenure as your interim attorney, if this time period is any indication, I'm sure none of you will be shy of communicating with Mr. Winklejohn about what your priorities are.
Can I add to
thank
that?
you for that explanation. Might we?
Mr. Kennedy?
Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, exactly. The reality is you don't have.
First rule is you have to call me Mac, Paul.
Okay, sir.
First rule.
Mac, I'll try. Military training is hard to undo.
I know. Watch the chief. He doesn't do anything.
He's a good guy. The point is, the only department that you have that is fully intact is public safety. So I have no doubt that Chief Cabrera's budget is we've already met. They're 9 miles down the road. That part's going to go smoothly. The rest of the departments, there's no leadership intact right now, other than the subordinates, which will be strong. But you guys are really going to be the providers of the feedback at that first workshop. That comes back to you at the second workshop, and that solidifies your budget, and that's what you almost always will adopt. It'll, moving the parts around can happen all the way to that point. So please plan. I'm going to circulate what I've sent to the department heads now, because I need that feedback, because I don't have David or Christian or somebody to consolidate it for me. So I'm going to lean on everybody to get the budget process effective.
Okay.
So might we, Ginny, I guess this is a question to you, might we call for a special meeting a half an hour prior to the budget workshop so we can have a kind of a task prioritizing conversation with Paul? I just think we need to,
Well, let's just,
I feel like there's so many balls in the air.
we don't need to talk about that. Let's
We have
ask
a
the other
special
commissioners if they can do a half hour prior. Is that okay with you, Commissioner Tude?
What was that?
Can we start
I didn't hear
have a special meeting a half hour before?
You're talking about the meeting on the 23rd?
Yes.
Mhm.
Because I think we have a meeting starting at 6:30, and then the workshop at 7. Yeah, I'll try to go ahead and try to get free at 6.
Okay, what about you,
May
Commissioner?
I make okay.
Commissioner Samaria, you're
Muted.
you're muted. Unmute.
Yourself. You can unmute yourself, Commissioner Samaria.
Unmute it. Okay.
There you go.
Yes, we have a thing at 6:30, don't we, with the trim? Isn't that
Yes.
what-
So we
Okay.
do-
Yeah.
What you're saying is now you want to have
Yeah.
so now you want to have a commission meeting, a special commission meeting again at 6, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it might be
There might be-
beneficial to make that meeting happen faster, and also to help Paul prepare for that meeting. If each of the commissioners, we agreed to a date like no later than Monday, for example, we each send Paul an email and say, of all the things going on around here, here's how I prioritize what's going on and my specific concerns and thoughts. So at least Paul has that, and he's not hearing anything told from us. I mean, I really think he has a very strong understanding of what's going on anyway, but it might just help him if he got that email from each of us. So at that 6 o'clock meeting, he's a numbers guy. He's going to have it all organized on something very pretty, I'm sure, for us, and said, okay, based on the individual feedback of the 5 of you, kind of here's where we stand. Here's how I propose we attack this, and let Paul take a stab at it. He's a professional municipality manager. Let him take our feedback in advance and come propose something to us. We have that conversation. It might just happen a whole lot faster. Does that make sense, Paul?
Madam Mayor, I thought we were
Everybody in
going to.
agreement then?
Madam Mayor, I thought we were going to have the budget before the workshop from Commissioner Ross. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe it's a September one, not this one. But I thought we were supposed to have the budget a week before the workshop. Am I wrong, Commissioner Ross? I thought you said the 16th. We were going to have the budget before the first workshop. Because I can't give questions to him unless I know what the budget's going to be.
Okay, we're talking two different things. What Mac was suggesting is that we all send, excuse me,
Can't send it. I don't have.
To send any suggestions to.
Sorry, I was hearing an echo. I just had to close the door. What Mac was suggesting is that we all send to Paul our like list of things we know, what this is what's going on and these are our priorities of emergent things that are like emergencies. The other thing with regard to the budget, when we talked about the budget calendar at the last meeting or the meeting before, we did say we'd like to see that budget maybe a week in advance so that we have time to assimilate it and ask, you know, write our questions, any clarifications. But admittedly, we are now in a sort of compressed state with minimal staff. So my request would be that we get it as soon as possible, but there are
Right away.
it's a fluid situation.
At the meeting with the former interim village manager and the departments and the finance, Sherry promised to give the proposed budget by tomorrow, Friday. So I can forward it to the commission to have ready for the meeting on the 23rd.
Yeah, the budget is actually done. It was supposed to be in the department head massage in detail, so it's done. It won't have a lot of the future plans that we would have liked had things gone differently, but we're ready. It'll go out. I have enough to send you right now. I'd rather it be consolidated into our traditional budget, but I could send you each department separately right now.
Okay, so then
So, Paul, the suggestion that I made, did that,
I think everybody's in agreement then to meet a half hour before. So we'll meet at 6 o'clock.
yeah.
So just to be clear.
Paul, if we send you that list, will that help you?
Will I get it today?
No.
I'll get you mine probably tonight, but will that
Please.
help you if we sent you an
Sooner the
email
better.
and kind of got you organized in advance? Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay, so do we need to make a motion about that, Ginny, or is there just kind of a consensus that we all understand we have a responsibility to get Paul our list?
Right.
No, and staff, because they're on the call, would also need to send me Chief and Roseanne any pending open items that I wouldn't be familiar with.
Okay.
So you guys can tell me what we need to do.
Okay.
Oh, I have
Awesome. Thank you for that, Paul.
Yes, sir.
clarify.
Mac.
Roseanne?
I have to schedule 3 meetings, right? One at 6 o'clock,
Right.
the tentative rate at 6:30, and the workshop at 7.
Perfect.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Yes, make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay.
Aye.
Have a pleasant,
Aye.
all in favor? All.
Aye.
Have a very pleasant evening, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.